Hey, good to be back. Back from Racine. We had a great time last night, man. If you were listening to the huddle last night, what a night. Fun time. Great crowd down there last night, too. So thanks to everybody that showed up for the Bill Michaels huddle. We had a good time. It's always brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the program and of the network. So thanks to them for being a part of it. I got a lot of good stuff today. Just like this potpourri of sports and talk and crap and stuff today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the best teams in the NFL. The Badgers have a hire, which last night, I think, if I'm not mistaken, sent our own Ben Kenny into a tizzy. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ben.
Oh, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I've completely lost my mind.
Yeah,
I was watching North Carolina film until like 2 a.m.
Yeah. And you know what's funny, folks? I believe him. I believe you, knowing the fanaticism that you have. And then we've got Paul Charch coming up today. So not here last week. He was ill, so he is back. He's feeling better, which is great news. And we'll have Paul Charch with us today, so stay tuned for that. And we're also going to give you our betting picks today. Sure to go wrong. Good games coming up tonight, starting tonight, and then all the way through. So we're looking forward to more football. It's funny. Last night, Mike and I finished up down at Angry Brothers Pub, which, by the way, they have Angry Brothers Pub. And Ben, I would assume you've never been there, correct?
Correct.
Okay. If you're familiar with it in Racine, or maybe you're not, it was always this bowling alley with a bar attached to it. That was Angry Brothers Pub. And what they did was, they said, look, we can make money and we can do well with, our pub and our bowling alley, but let's concentrate on food service and everything and the experience. And so what they did was they hired a chef. It's not bar food. And it's still priced like it, but they really upped their game when it came to food. We had steaks last night. Oh my God. It was better than a lot of steakhouses I've been to. Oh my God. It was so good. And then they put in golf simulators, and they put in a whole back banquet room, and then they put another bar, and they've got volleyball courts out back, and they opened up garages, and they've got this huge outdoor patio come summertime. And yeah, there's still a bowling alley there, 36 lanes, but oh my goodness, it's just a whole entertainment center now, whether it's for adults, for kids, for whatever. So it was great. We had a great time down there last evening. So thanks to everybody that came out. We actually had applause last night, which was really cool. Going to break. That was kind of neat.
That surprised me, frankly. I didn't think they were cheering for you.
No, they were.
I thought there was like a stripper pole off to the side.
No, there was, but that was Mike. Nobody was applauding that. So it was a great time. We had a really, really fun time last night down at Angry Brothers Pub. And again, thanks to everybody for coming out and showing up last night. So here we go. The NFL this weekend, and I'm going back into my story, coming out of the show last night, had a couple people come up and they said, so what do you do during the bye week? Well, this week, the bye week actually falls at a good time because we have the house party here on Saturday. So I've been kind of gearing up for that. And I don't know what it's up to now. I think it's like with people that have responded and people that are coming and guests and stuff. I think it's like 70 people now. But we've been gearing up for that. And I got people coming into town beginning tomorrow morning from out of town. So we'll be busy. But on Sunday, really starting tonight, you got the Raiders and the Rams tonight. But on Sunday, I just can't wait to do nothing. To wake up and do nothing. And next Sunday, we can wake up and do nothing. Only for the fact that the Packers play on Monday night. So they don't even come back right away on a Sunday. They come back on Monday night. But I can't wait for some of the games this weekend. One of the better games I'm looking forward to, obviously, the Vikings and the Lions. There's the Eagles and the Giants. Looking forward to that. It used to be a really a bloodbath whenever the Steelers and the Ravens got together. Now it's not so much. I'm kind of hoping the Steelers get the win in this one, just because. I think one of the intriguing games is how good Cincinnati is, but Joe Burrow has never beaten Cleveland. Now Cleveland has Deshaun Watson back. You've got the Buccaneers on the road taking on the 49ers. The 49ers with Purdy and not Garoppolo. And can they beat an emotional comeback win by the Buccaneers just the other night? So can the 49ers get a win out there at Levi Stadium? So there's a lot of good games, intriguing games this week. Now, on bye, you have the Falcons, the Bears, the Packers, Colts, who am I missing? Saints and Commanders. So you have all those teams that are on bye this week. But you got some really good games. Got some good. I can't wait for just Sunday because people will be, checking out of the hotels. People are going to be checking out of the house here. And after everybody's done and gone, it's just relax time. And then there's going to be a ton of leftovers, I'm sure. So I'll have food to, gorge myself with, all the appetizers and stuff. So I'll just be kind of hanging out here at the house. So I'm looking forward to it. Ben, what is your what does your weekend look like?
That's a great question. I usually don't know until it happens, but Army Navy on Saturday.
Yep.
That's always one of my favorite games of the year.
College football, yeah.
I've been to it. It is terrific. It's one of the coolest sporting events.
Have you really been to it? That's cool.
Well, it's in Philly all the time. And it is, I can't describe how awesome it is to go to that game. So I always love watching that. The NFL slate on Sunday kind of gets me going, but it's, we're starting bowl season. Frankly, I don't think the work's going to stop with this Wisconsin hire, but I'll go find something substantive to do aside from, the normal nothing.
Are you excited for a week from tomorrow?
What's a week from tomorrow?
It's the beginning of bowl season.
Oh, yes, I will say. I'm excited for the bowls to start.
The Hometown Lenders Bowl.
Oh.
The Duluth Trading Cure Bowl.
That bowl's actually exciting. Troy is really good.
The Wasabi Fenway Bowl. Coming up next. You got a bunch of bowl games next Saturday.
Well, the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, Cincinnati, Luke Fickell's obviously at Wisconsin, and Louisville, Jeff Brom is going there, left Purdue, their head coach left. So it's the backup coaches bowl. Yeah. And I think the Louisville OC is going to Cincinnati. I don't know. There's a lot of back and forth there.
Yeah. And nobody in Cincinnati is happy about that. They thought Cincinnati was a much better program that would recruit much higher caliber of coach, and to get Louisville's coach, people are like upset, and I really haven't looked that deep into it. I'm like, oh, okay, Louisville sucks. They're not that good. Cincinnati could kill them, and on and on and on. So I don't know. It's just people have a lot of consternation there. But then you got number 14 Oregon State and Florida next Saturday. You've got anybody else ranked? I don't think so.
Boise State, North Texas. That one has some juice.
Does it? Okay.
Again, I'm probably speaking into a void here. Like Marshall, UConn. UConn's bowl eligible. Come on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You get into a week from then, you get a couple of games that Friday on December 23rd. You get Christmas Eve, Middle Tennessee and San Diego State. Christmas Day, you've got NFL, because I know we're working. And then Monday the 26th, you got New Mexico, Bowling Green. And then you start to get into the better games. Thursday, December 27th, you got Wisconsin and Oklahoma State. But it starts during the day. You got Georgia Southern, Buffalo, Memphis, Utah, Coastal Carolina, East Carolina. And then you round out the evening with Wisconsin and Oklahoma State.
Bill, that's not a good game.
I'm just throwing it out there, man.
Oklahoma State's whole team is in the portal, and Wisconsin, we know where they're at.
Yeah.
But it's exciting. It's an excuse to do nothing every night.
But Saturday, December 31st, New Year's Eve, you got number 1 Georgia, number 4 Ohio State. That takes place 7:00 at night. The afternoon game is number 2 Michigan and number 3 TCU. So, and you also don't forget, you got the All-State Sugar Bowl and number 9 Kansas State, K-State, and Alabama. But you get that 11 a.m. kickoff on ABC, the Trans Perfect Music City Bowl. What kind of crap is this? That's Iowa and Kentucky.
Bill, the total is 31 in that game.
31 and a half.
Like, Army Navy might have a higher total than Iowa, Kentucky.
Right? Yeah.
You're talking about 2 great defenses and just pure offensive ineptitude.
Right.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So there you go. That's it. That's the bowl weekend getting or the bowl couple of weeks getting you through the New Year's Eve stuff. 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free to do so. 877-867-1670. Find us on Twitter at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. You can find us Ben Kenny over on Twitter as well, at Ben Z Kenny. You can find us on Facebook. We're back, by the way. The live stream is back, and things are working better. I think, actually, after all the technical stuff and the piece of equipment that was dropped, Ben, I don't think it was either of those. Now that I've worked with it over the last 2 days and tried to get this thing back up and running, I think it was the computer. For whatever reason, I think the computer went bad. Don't know why, but I think the laptop went bad because the system is working on other computers. So maybe I was wrong the whole time.
That's not as good a story as a Bears fan in Chicago dropping it.
Yeah, I know. I don't. I don't know why I would have done that, but it did. So anyway, but that being said, but we're back up and running. So if you want to find us on Facebook, go to facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. YouTube, go over there, subscribe on YouTube and for free. And you can find us, go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. Same thing over on Twitch TV if you download the app. You can email the program, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. That's thebillmichaels@gmail.com. And don't forget, you can always find us on Apple iTunes. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Google Podcasts, anywhere and everywhere, whenever you need it. Good stuff. So thanks for paying attention to the program, as always. This is from Melanie, who says, an off day this weekend allows me not to blur my eyes any longer at the pathetic Green Bay Packers. I think I might move on. Bring on Christmas specials. Melanie, it's a little early to just bag it on the Packers, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing to say, look, I believe that maybe they're not going to make it to the postseason, most likely. I get that. But to say I'm bagging it for Christmas specials this early, it's only December 8th, for gosh sakes. You can still enjoy football and maybe a good Frosty the Snowman or a Rudolph Shiny New Year. I get it. But, man, I don't think I'd bag it all together. But appreciate the email. Thank you very much. Ben, are you excited about this new offensive coordinator of the Badgers?
I am. It is. That was the word that I constantly used during our show last night. Zach and I recorded a podcast after the huddle, actually. It's very exciting because he runs something that has drawn from the air raid. Obviously, Mike Leach at Mississippi State and Texas Tech, and now Washington State as well. It's that concept with vertical, high-powered downfield passing. So it's hard to not be excited about that. It's clear that Fickell and the new regime are creating a system that quarterbacks would want to play in, top-tier quarterbacks. And then from that, obviously, you'll get a lot of other good players, in theory, that would want to play with those quarterbacks. So they're setting it up that way. It's very exciting. At its peak, I think it could bring Wisconsin to a very successful level that maybe we haven't seen. There are a lot of unknowns with how it's going to work and where the shortcomings could fall. But I mean, I saw the news. I was floored yesterday that they would make this hire. It's very, very exciting.
It's exciting. It is different football than what we're accustomed to in Badgerland. You're not going for just a great running back anymore. I mean, you got to fortify this team with a throwing quarterback, downfield receivers. I'm not saying they can't do it, but I had a flashback of Gary Anderson last night. Now, not the same, coach, obviously. But when he came in and said, nope, we're going to change things up. We're going to do it different. I had flashbacks of Gary Anderson. Didn't you, or did you?
Somewhat. I think one of my reservations, my first thought is, can they consistently get that talent? Can they bring it in? And in order to do so, they need to be big players in the portal. And also they need to expand their recruiting reach, which Gary Anderson tried to do. And when you try to do that, that's when you get away from who you are. And that's when you could struggle. I think the portal could be the evener of all things here, where they could just get really productive players there and not having to recruit from Pennsylvania or Florida or California. So yes, there are reservations with whether the talent can be there. But I also think he seems like a smart guy. Where Phil Longo, he was at Ole Miss, he's at North Carolina. There were years at UNC, great quarterback play, didn't have the receivers, great running backs, and they had 2,000-yard rushers. Like, he has shown the ability to adapt to his personnel. My question is, can the personnel actually walk through that door?
Yeah, I'm like you. I'm excited because if they're able to pull it off and able to bring in those guys, then I'm ecstatic. If you're not able to get those guys, then the system you're wanting to run doesn't have the capability of running it. So it's I'm a little bit kind of skeptical. I guess I'm very much arms folded, saying wait and see, show me something before I jump all in. But I'm excited about it. I mean, don't get me wrong. But yeah, it was one of those when you and I were kind of going back and forth a little bit last night and talking, I thought, oh boy. I hope they're able to get the guys to do it. That's the biggest thing. And I do not doubt Luke Fickell. The more I hear about him, the more that, I friend to people and to people in Columbus. And I'll get a text or two every now and then, hey, congratulations on the hire. Not that, it has anything to do with me. I didn't do anything, but being able to cover Luke Fickell in this area, I get a lot of positivity about, his recruiting, his likability, no nonsense, very much, where you stand with him. I mean, there's a lot of qualities there that sometimes may be blunt, but very respected. So I'm appreciating that. And I've got this optimism now for that 300-mile radius in the area to be able to say Luke Fickell is going to hardcore draw the 300-mile map. He's going to take the kids out of Minnesota. He's going to take the kids out of Iowa. He's going to take the kids out of Illinois. He's already got a portal into southeastern Ohio and Ohio in general, into Pennsylvania, into Michigan. So I'm the upper Midwest. I'm hoping he plants his flag and says, we're not vying for the guys that don't go to Ohio State. We're vying for the guys that want to go, but don't want to be one of many, want to be one of one. And we're bringing those guys here. I'm excited about that. So I've got a lot of optimism, I guess is the best way to put it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, give us a shout. We can talk a little bit about that. The best team in the NFL. We do power rankings. The best team, the most likely team, like if Ben and I were to sit down today and throw money on this, if you really, really, really had to say who's going to win it all, the NFC, the AFC, and then who's going to win it all, we're in the bye week. We're in self-scout and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to look into that because there's been, some topsy-turviness because of quarterback injuries and such that have gone on. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Also coming up, like I said, we're going to have some fantasy football coming up a little bit later on as well. And then there's obviously the breaking news of the day, and we can get into that just a little bit too. So stick around. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at the Milwaukee Admirals. Go to MilwaukeeAdmirals.com for single game tickets, promotional tickets, concerts after the game, or just season tickets from here on out. A lot of great stuff with our friends at the Milwaukee Admirals. Go to MilwaukeeAdmirals.com. That's MilwaukeeAdmirals.com.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it 2 years later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hella no, pay later. Ho, ho.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Sir, with the license for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Have you? Hey, our friends at Stoley's Hog Alley out there in Oconomowoc. I was looking at some of the pictures, and oh my goodness, is that coming along? They've got their new flagpole up. They've got grass in. They've got the lot paved. That place is coming along, and they want to have it open by Christmas. So I'm hoping they're able to get it done. I know they wanted to get it done by August, and then September, and October, and November, and so now it just keeps getting pushed back, but they're really getting close. It's just the inside finishing work at this point in time. So keep supporting our friends at Stoley's Hog Alley out there in Oconomowoc and Summit. Look for that place to reopen. In the meantime, head up to Watertown and get a good meal there with our friends at Stoll's Old 109. Stoll's Old 109 in Watertown. And tell them we sent you. The breaking news of the day is, in case you didn't know it, that Brittany Griner, in a prisoner exchange, has been released and will be on her way back to the United States. The WNBA star is coming home. The prisoner exchange, the United States released the notorious Russian arms dealer Victor Bout, once nicknamed the Merchant of Death, and they let him go. So he is on his way back to Russia, and Brittany Griner is on her way back to the States. That's been, in the sports world, really kind of the breaking news of the day. And just politically and all that stuff, I leave it there. I'm just transferring the information to you. So because there's been a heavy reaction to all of this today. So I'm just bringing it out there in case you did not know. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, go ahead and do so. Again, 877-867-1670. The best teams in the National Football League. The best team in the National Football League is who? And, it's funny because we do the we do the power rankings each week, and we get into that. And, then you start to look at teams, you look at injuries, and you look at who is and isn't coming back and where they stand and records and such. And I get it. I really do. I started to look at this when, Ben, you sent me this, this morning. And I started to look at kind of, the standings and who has the best shot and legitimacy and everything. And the Buffalo Bills went from not even leading their own division and now being the best team with tiebreakers over Kansas City based on the head-to-head win percentage. They are now the best team in the AFC again. And then you've got in the NFC, Philadelphia at 11-1, Minnesota at 10-2, San Francisco would be ranked number 3 right now, just for the fact they're 8-4 and they're winning their division. Tampa Bay, the 4th at 6-6, and then you've got the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th teams right now, and that being Dallas, New York, Seattle, and Washington. So basically, everybody in the NFC East would get in. You've got Detroit, Atlanta, and Green Bay sitting right behind them, trying to wiggle their way into a playoff spot. But you're hoping that the Seattle Seahawks falter and that either New York or Washington falter, and then the Packers continue to win and kind of go from there. However, the best teams in football, if you're going to say this team is going to represent in the Super Bowl, we look at the AFC. It's interesting because Buffalo has shown that, and I thought Buffalo was the team all along. And since they lost to the Jets and the Vikings, they bounced back. They beat Cleveland. They barely beat a Lions team. And then they turned around and put it on a Patriots team. Now they're going to play a tough Jets team, I think. And they've got a tougher schedule coming up. They got the Jets, then the Dolphins. They get an easier one against the Bears. They still have to play Cincinnati at Cincinnati. And then they get the Patriots again at home to close out their season. It is not an easy schedule. The Jets are going to give them everything. The Dolphins are going to give them everything. Cincinnati's going to give them everything. And the Patriots, who they just beat 24-10, Bill Belichick doesn't like to be, drilled in the division. And that's always a toss-up, especially the second time around against Bill Belichick. But that's always a toss-up. They don't have an easy road to go. And after losing to the Jets and the Vikings, they lost 2017 to the Jets earlier. So that's a big game, a revenge game coming up for them in Buffalo this weekend. So I look at Buffalo, and I picked them at the beginning of the season to say, you know what? I think Buffalo is the real deal. Kansas City's Kansas City. I mean, they just, they lost to Cincinnati again in a rematch of that AFC, championship game from last year. They lost 27-24 in Cincinnati. Up until that point, they had reeled off 5 straight wins, beating the 49ers, Titans, Jaguars, Chargers, and Rams. Now, it's not a juggernaut by any stretch, but the 49ers, not a bad win. And they did that in San Francisco, and they did that by just drilling San Francisco 44-23. So they looked really strong in that sense. I still think, as long as Patrick Mahomes is there and he's healthy and the Kansas City Chiefs are viable, that, to me, I think more so now than anything, that might be the team to beat. But after starting off 2-3, Cincinnati then has gone 6-1. They beat the Saints and the Falcons. They, for whatever reason, they can't beat Cleveland. And I threw this statistic out last night. Joe Burrow's never beaten the Browns. They have the Browns at Paul Brown Stadium this coming weekend. And up until that, they've reeled off 4 straight. Now, they're not beating the first couple against Carolina and Pittsburgh. Carolina, they drilled. Pittsburgh, 37-30. Tennessee, they played pretty well on the road in Tennessee. They held on to that game. They were able to slow down Derrick Henry. P. Ryan was able to run the ball extremely well. They've got Jamar Chase back. That was without Jamar Chase. They've got Jamar Chase back now, and they needed every bit of it to beat the Chiefs. But the one thing about Cincinnati is their offensive line is finally starting to come together. If they get past Cleveland, then they go Buccaneers, Patriots, Bills, and they got the Bills at Paul Brown, and the Ravens at home. That Ravens game could be for the top spot in the division. But this is a team that's starting to play a lot better, and they're starting to feel their own swagger there as well. So, and then you've got Baltimore, but Baltimore, right now you've got a lot of questions about Baltimore because, you've got obviously an ailing Lamar Jackson right now. And Lamar has a PCL sprain. He's listed as week to week. And for a running quarterback, that's not good because he's pretty much that offense with his feet. And if he can't run, I know people like him, but he's not the most accurate passer if he can't run. Don't get me wrong, he's a good quarterback, but when he just has to stand in the pocket and he's not allowed to get outside and make a lot of moves and make a lot of, defenses kind of account for him, he's not the most accurate passer. So I don't know if I have a belief in Baltimore, to be quite honest with you. And then Tennessee's good. They're a grinded out, fundamentally strong team. But I look at Tennessee and I say, you know what? I still think you're a quarterback away. You got a really staunch defense. You got a good offensive line, obviously a beast of a running back. I always think to myself, in 2 minutes, can that team win a game down, say, 10 points? I just don't think so. So I don't think I'd put Tennessee there. You have to go Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati right now would be my top 3 over in the AFC. Ben, do you see it that way? Or you think I'm off base here?
I'm with you. I am a skeptic of the Titans. I mean, we saw what happened when the Eagles shut down Derrick Henry last weekend, and not every team can do that. But yes, Tannehill's arm probably not going to get you there. I think Cincinnati is getting there, and what Piron has been able to do without Mixon, both in pass protection as a running back, but also with running and catching the ball, very impressive. I don't know if I'm quite there yet with them. Like they're getting there, and Chase is healthy, and they own the Chiefs. They don't lose to the Chiefs. But I don't know if I put them in the same group as the Chiefs and Bills. It feels like a Chiefs-Bills AFC championship, and then that's a coin flip.
I'm with you. If I had to say there's a team that I believed in more, I think I believe in Kansas City more. I believe in Kansas City. I believe in Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. I just don't know Josh Allen has got to take that next step. You know what I mean? That's what you're looking for, is Josh Allen to take that. He played an amazing postseason last year. It was crazy how great the games were, all except for the Packers, of course. How quarterbacks that needed to show up showed up last year. But I don't know, with what I've seen and some of the up and down play, and and it's been well documented, some of the red zone malfeasance, that Josh Allen's committed, where it just for inexplicably throwing into traffic, turning the ball over, some of those things it kind of sticks with me. So I think Kansas City, then Buffalo, then Cincinnati are my top 3 over in the AFC. There you go.
Oh, it's Brett Favrean in a way.
Yeah.
Where, he can make
description.
The most amazing plays you've ever seen. And then the next one, you just scratch your head.
Right.
Like, what are you doing, man?
Right. Yep. No, that's a really good description. When we come back, we'll look at the NFC. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. This portion brought to you by our friends over there at Forgotten Fire Winery. It's that time of year. Seasonal. You're going to be going to parties. You're going to be doing the cakes, the pies, the cookies and stuff. You're going to show up with things. Show up with a great bottle of wine. Show up with a fun bottle of wine. Something that's meant to be drank. Something that it doesn't matter if you do it in front of a fire and your pinky's out, or if you're sticking ice in it or whatever. It's great. From our friends at Forgotten Fire Winery. Go to ForgottenFireWinery.com. That's ForgottenFireWinery.com. See for yourself. Again, ForgottenFireWinery.com. And ask for it by name. And your liquor stores, your wine stores, your grocery stores, ask for it by name. That is ForgottenFireWinery.com.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
This December, it's a cash avalanche at Potawatomi. Saturdays, you could get buried in up to 10 grand cash. Plus, all the unclaimed prizes snowball into a huge cash jackpot at the end of the month. Just play with your club card for a chance to win. Sure, presents are nice, but nothing beats cold, hard cash. Only at Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. More info at paysbig.com/coldcash. Must be 21 years old to play.
The Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Michael Show. We continue on. Hey, this portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Potawatomi Hotel Casino. And they've got luxury stays and elite plays going on right now. You can get a double suite, a king suite. They've got all kinds of good rooms. If you're looking for maybe a little holiday getaway, you can find your game over there at the casino. Use your Firekeepers Club card. And, oh, my God, they got a lot of good stuff you can get registered for, too. And it's that time of season. You know, they got some neat events happening. So go to paysbig.com to see everything. That is paysbig.com. Again, paysbig.com. So we went over the AFC, our top three teams in the AFC, Kansas City, Buffalo, and then Cincinnati. In the NFC, it's a little more jumbled because records, I believe, are a little more deceiving. A little more deceiving. At the beginning of the season, here's how much things have changed. I picked Buffalo in the beginning of the year in the AFC. I picked the Packers in the NFC. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. I said the Packers. I think I said Dallas, Philadelphia, and Tampa Bay, I think is the way it went, with like one of the runner-ups possibly being San Francisco. It's not that anymore. I think in the NFC, you look at Philadelphia and the fact that they have added a defensive front to stop the run, which was their Achilles heel, I'd have to go with Philadelphia. I mean, obviously, for what they've done this season, they only have one blemish. That's to the Commanders, in kind of a weird game. It was almost like the pressure was mounting for the undefeated season, and then you get the loss and you get it out of the way. They came back right after that, barely hung on against a Colts team that was starting to feel themselves after their first win with Jeff Saturday. They go back into Indianapolis and barely beat the Colts, but then they beat up on the Packers. They this past week beat the Titans and held Derrick Henry to only, 30 yards? Correct me if I'm wrong, Ben. 30 rushing yards.
11 carries, 30 yards.
11 carries, yep. 30 yards. Yeah, I mean it was nil. So you got some games that are of ilk here, and if you look at the remainder of the season, they still have two against the Giants. The Giants this weekend, then the Bears. Now the next three games for the Eagles, tough ones because they're all on the road. They go to New York in the Meadowlands and take on the Giants, to Chicago to take on the Bears, to Dallas to take on the Cowboys before they finally come back home and get the Saints and the Giants to round out their season. They should beat the Giants. I think the Giants are a paper champion. They should beat the Bears. The Cowboys game pretty much to me is for supremacy in the NFC. And I don't have a lot of belief in Dak Prescott. I do have a lot of belief in Jalen Hurts. Then the Saints, they should beat the Saints, and then they get the Giants at home. And who knows if that game is even going to matter when it comes to home field advantage and such. But I really like what Philadelphia has. I like the way that they've kind of rounded out their game now with, paying attention to stopping the run. Barring an injury, Philadelphia is the team that I think you have to look at to be the top spot in the NFC. I know with a 10-2 record, you cannot dismiss Minnesota. The problem I have with Minnesota is, one, defensively speaking, they don't rank very high. They're in the bottom third with points given up per game. And remember, Kirk Cousins, he only has one postseason win. One. He has folded a lot in the postseason. He hasn't gotten over that hump to even get them close to what they were some years back. So I don't have belief in Minnesota. And I know that there's a lot of Minnesotans that listen to this program over in La Crosse. They listen to us over in Eau Claire. They listen to us up in Marshfield, Wausau, Stevens Point, up in those. I get it. I know I'm pissing them off. Doesn't matter. You haven't won anything. And I don't think you're going to. So I can't put you as the second best team. San Francisco, I can't either. I haven't seen enough of Purdy. That defense may get you there, but maybe Purdy becomes the diamond in the rough. Maybe he's the guy that just has nothing to lose. Mr. Irrelevant, I'm going to go let it all hang out, and here we go. And as long as he doesn't make mistakes, they can win some games. I don't have a ton of belief in San Francisco. I don't have any belief in Tampa Bay. I think they're an average team at best, and their record reflects that. Dallas, if I'm going to have to pick a second best team In the NFC, I'm going to go with Dallas. Here's the reason why, because I think their defense is good enough. Obviously, they have the two-headed monster in Pollard and Zeke Elliott to be able to run the football. Dak Prescott and the weapons he has around him, they are good. I still think they're going to end up with OBJ before it's all said and done. But they're not going to pay what OBJ wants. And I think that's what it's coming down to. If he says, hey, look, pay me a couple $1 million, I'll come and play for you in the end of the season, every team out there is going to be offering him, contracts. The problem is he wants a good chunk of change for this year and next year. And in addition to that, he wants it guaranteed for now. And there's not many teams with a guy that doesn't look like he's 100% healthy yet to come back and do that. So I still think Dallas is probably the second best team in the NFC. The third best team in the NFC. 1 and 2 are pretty easy. Do I think I think San Francisco's got a far better defense than Minnesota. Minnesota's got a really good offense with Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. Now that they've traded for Hockenson, they've got a really good tight end that can catch passes. Their offensive line is better. They're not great, but Kirk can be that P numbers, or he can be Kirk Cousins that doesn't win jack the postseason. You probably by default, by record, have to go with Minnesota, but I'm going to say my third best team, depending on what Purdy does, is going to be San Francisco. Fourth would be then Minnesota. Ben, do you agree or disagree?
I agree. I agree with where you're at with the Vikings. Yes, they've won games, but when we look at long-term sustainability, are they able to pull out those fluky wins in Buffalo where the quarterback fumbles in the goal line?
Right.
Or a fluky win against the Jets where, they're good, but all their wins are coming at the same weird circumstances. But I really think the Eagles have separated themselves from the rest. They're the most complete. They have the quarterback playing the best football of maybe anyone in the NFL next to Mahomes. Definitely anyone in the NFC. The defense is legit. If they get home field, that's a massive part of it. Niners are really good, but can Brock Purdy win a road playoff game?
Right.
Can Dak do it? That's a big part of that as well. So that's where I'm at.
I look at San Francisco, the number one defense pretty much across the board in the league, only giving up 15.8 points per game. Now, granted, the quarterback has something to do with that because they have to hang on to the football. They're only giving up 283 yards per game. I look at them as being a better team. Dallas, they're giving up 17.2 points per game. They're giving up just over 300 yards per game. But then you start to look and you're like, okay, where does Minnesota rank in all of this? When you look at all these teams we're talking about, you got San Francisco, you got Dallas, you got Buffalo, Tampa Bay, New York, the Jets, the Patriots, the Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens, Washington, Tennessee, the Giants, Cincinnati. Those are all teams. That's pretty much the order they go when it comes to defenses giving up points per game. Where do you find the Minnesota Vikings? They're 20th, 23.3 points per game. That's what they're giving up. 23.3 points per game. Minnesota's defense is second to last in yards per game. Almost 400 yards a game they're giving up. I can't pick them. I just can't. San Francisco's number one. Philadelphia's number two. You got the Jets, the Cowboys, the Commanders, the Patriots. Yeah, I go through that list. Oddly enough, you got Denver and Indianapolis in the top 10 when it comes up to defense yard per game. But then there's Buffalo, New Orleans, Cincinnati, Baltimore. I mean, you go through that list. Hell, the total yards per game, defensively speaking, the Packers are ranked 18th. Minnesota, for the bolstering of their defense and everything that they claim to have, they're giving up a bunch of points and the second worst yards per game, just ahead of the Lions. The Lions give up over 400 yards a game. I can't pick Minnesota. So for those that say you're crazy, what are you talking about? You don't have Kirk Cousins having a good track record of winning games in the postseason, and you also give up far too many yards and far too many points. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Kunis RV, Wisconsin's fastest growing RV dealer. Many different makes and models, whether it's a motorhome, a camper van, travel trailer, whatever it happens to be, they've got it. Stick with Kunis. Go to Kunis, Kunes, KunisRV.com. That is KunisRV.com.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers say they plan to have Romeo Doubs back for their next game. The rookie receiver has been inactive for over a month and was asked if he's looking forward to getting back on the field with Christian Watson.
Yes, I am. But, again, we'll see what happens. I feel great being out there. I know Christian feels just the same. Can get us going.
Doubs suffered a high ankle sprain November 6th against Detroit after getting hit by 2 Lions defenders. He came close to playing against the Bears in Chicago this past Sunday. Packers head coach Matt LaFleur.
We worked him out in pregame. We were hopeful that he was going to be able to play a limited role. That wasn't the case. You know, he's diligent about his rehab and just the process that you got to go through to get back. And I know he's definitely eager to be back out on the field, and yeah, definitely excited to hopefully get him back in the fold next game.
Now the Packers' next game is against the Rams on Monday Night Football, December 19th. The Rams are hosting the Raiders tonight on Thursday Night Football, but they'll be without Aaron Donald, out with an ankle injury. Former Wisconsin Badger David Edwards is being shut down at left guard after a series of concussions. And with Matthew Stafford out with a spinal cord contusion, the Rams signed quarterback Baker Mayfield after he was waived by the Panthers Tuesday. Sean McVay on why they signed Mayfield.
I think it's just, the love of the game, the competitor, all the things that he brings, from the traits and characteristics of a quarterback. He's a natural thrower. Like I said, ability to be able to throw in the pocket and out of the pocket. There's a lot of things, whether it be in Cleveland or even in Carolina, that he's been asked to do that are very similar concept carryover to what we've been able to do and some of the things that we have as foundational parts of our offense. So that makes it a little bit easier. It's kind of all of those things and certainly not exclusive to one of them.
That's Rams head coach Sean McVay. Sunday. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Our friends over at Quick Trip, they let you know that, you got the 25 days of quickness going on right now. They're giving away all kinds of stuff over at Quick Trip. Really, really good stuff. So check out Quickness going on. I was filled up yesterday down in Racine, as a matter of fact. And the Quickness pops up on the pump screen, the GSTV, gas station TV. So check out the 25 days of Quickness at Quick Trip. Also, don't forget the opening drive contest as well. Type in that Quick Rewards card. You're automatically registered. Could win some additional cash there as well. Good stuff from our friends over at Quick Trip. And if you're out running around, by the way, just a wink, wink, nod, nod, they have some eggnog. If you're doing the holiday thing, they have eggnog. Some of them even carry some liquor where you can buy the rum to go with it. Not a bad way to go with our friends over at Quick Trip. Coming up in the next hour, the top of the next hour, we'll talk a little bit more about all of this as, with the AFC and the NFC, and we'll get some of your reaction to our picks for the top three teams in each. But when you enter the transfer portal, usually it's thank you, I appreciate my time here. It's not a giant middle finger to people in the organization. In one particular player's case, it's a picture of him. It's very professionally done. But there's a sentence in there where it's like, hey, F you. So you're going to want to hear it when we come back. Stay tuned. Got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up, and it's coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin football's offense is going to look quite a bit different offensively than what fans have come to expect from the Badgers since Barry Alvarez arrived as coach in 1990. Wisconsin's new head coach, Luke Fickell, has settled on a new OC that would be North Carolina's offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, Phil Longo. In his tenure with North Carolina, Longo led the Tar Heels offense the last 4 years, and the result was some of the best units in school history. They finished in the top 15 in total offense in the country all 4 seasons. The offense that Longo brings is a version of the air raid that features a prolific passing game and plenty of 3 and 4 wide receiver sets. To the NFL, the Green Bay Packers are on their bye week. The NFL's Pro Bowl voting is underway. Jair Alexander is number 5 at cornerback, Pat O'Donnell number 6 at punter, Aaron Jones number 8 at running back, and Keyshawn Nixon is number 9 at return specialist. Now, after having this week off, the Packers are back at it for Monday Night Football on December 19th when they host the LA Rams.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up, and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
It was another 30-point night from Giannis Antetokounmpo as the Greek Freak put in 35. It was his 8th straight game of at least 30 points or more, the longest streak by a Bucks player since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had 16 straight in 1972, as the Bucks pushed past the Sacramento Kings 126-113 at the Pfizer Forum. And finally, Wisconsin basketball returns to action Sunday when they're in Iowa to take on the Hawkeyes. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
From La Crosse to Eau Claire to Menominee, Marinette, listening to us over in Door County, all the way down to Milwaukee, Platteville, all over the great state of Wisconsin and well beyond the borders. We are glad you're with us. The Bill Michaels Show. on the air. I had mentioned it going into the top of the hour, and Ben alerted me to this. Dylan Johnson plays for Mississippi State, played for, doesn't anymore. I didn't, you know what, when you said read the last sentence, Ben, I read it. I'm like, what am I missing? Finally, I went and read the whole thing. Damn. You talk about a middle finger walking out the door, huh? That's, go ahead.
I was reading it, and my first reaction was, oh, these announcements are so boring.
Right.
And then I got to the end. I figure you're planning on outlining exactly what was said.
Yeah. So, and you got to bear with me now. This is Dylan Johnson. Plays
second leading rusher, by the way.
Second leading rusher, plays for Mississippi State. He said this is his goodbye. First and foremost, I would like to thank God for giving me the opportunity to showcase my talents at a college level. Without him, I am nothing. Secondly, I would like to thank my family and friends for the endless love and support they have shown towards me throughout the season. Mississippi University, my teammates, amazing fans. It's been an honor to participate in this program with you all. Together, you guys have helped me build my character and skills tremendously. With that being said, since I'm not very tough and Leach is glad I'm leaving, I'm entering my name into the transfer portal with the hopes of finding a more fit playing environment for me. Thank you. Damn. There's your middle finger.
I mean, it also overshadows the fact that there are some clear grammar mistakes in the statement. Like he spelled skills, SKILL''S.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, when we talk about a job opening or potential employment, someone to be an editor for all of the transfer portal announcements would make, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
So, yeah. Good stuff, though.
But since I'm not tough and Leach doesn't want me here anyway, up yours. I'm out. Talk to you later. Okay. Well, there you have it. He's not wanted. Second leading rusher. Yes, no, Leach doesn't like him, so he's out. So
I also have some minor breaking news.
Uh-oh. Do we need a news sounder for this?
No,
okay.
It doesn't warrant the sounder. Marcus Allen, wide receiver for Wisconsin, entered the portal when Paul Chris got fired in October.
Right.
He committed to Minnesota last week, and since Wisconsin made the new offensive coordinator hire, he has since removed his name from the portal, and Evan Flood of 24/7 Sports has reported that he will be back next season.
Coming back. There you go. After looking over that fence, said, wait a minute. We might throw the ball. Wait a minute. Or maybe he went, you know what? Graham Mertz is gone. Yes, I'm going back. Maybe I'm going to find somebody to give me the ball. There you go. So that's happening. There you go. Good stuff. Excuse me. This one's from Mark, who says, I think you have it off a little bit in the NFC. I would go Philadelphia, then I would go San Francisco, Dallas, then Minnesota. See, I can't put San Francisco because San Francisco right now, they have a tremendous defense, but the unknown is their quarterback position. Now, I know some people did tell me, hey, look, in 6 to 7, maybe 8 weeks, Garoppolo could be back if they were playing for a championship. I can't see it. He avoided the least frank injury, but I can't see it. I don't think he's going to be back in time to make that difference. And if he does come back, put it this way. If this team makes a run to where they're heading towards a Super Bowl, Ben, at that point in time, would you give the ball back to Garoppolo? Or if Purdy and that defense, I mean, if Purdy's lighting it up, why would it's almost like the Tom Brady find. Why would you do that? You know?
Yeah, I don't know how much of a difference there would be between the quarterbacks if he gets them towards a Super Bowl. He's still limited, but so is Jimmy G.
Right. I don't know. I don't get it. So I can't put San Francisco ahead of Dallas. The known is Dallas. The known is the fact that Dallas has a run game. Dallas has a defense. Dallas has good wideouts. Dak Prescott, when he's on, he's on. It's when he's not, he can still make mistakes. We saw him make a couple of mistakes last week or 2 weeks ago and still ended up winning the game. Came up big when he needed to. They still have, CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup and, Noah Brown. They can still get it done. I'm not Dalton Schultz, obviously, is a hell of a tight end. And you still got a good run game, and Dak Prescott can still move. This is a team that won games with Cooper Rush. So I think they're a good football team. I just think that they're what could propel them to a Super Bowl and cost them a Super Bowl is the same guy, and that's Dak Prescott. I just don't have a lot of belief in him until he proves it to me deep into the postseason. Same thing with Kirk Cousins. Exact same thing with Kirk Cousins. Don't have a lot of belief in Minnesota. Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne. What was the other one? The young kid they picked, Jalen Naylor. They picked them all up. Picking up, granted Christian Darrisaw is down, but Darrisaw solidified that offensive line for the time being. Kirk Cousins has just not proven it consistently, even with I don't want to call it a two-headed monster because it's nowhere near what they have down in Dallas, but with Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison ran the ball pretty well when Cook was down for a short period of time. I think Kirk Cousins still has to prove it. He's got one postseason win. And much like Dak Prescott, I think he's just below Prescott. I think he can put up all kinds of crazy MVP style numbers. And then when the chips are down, he can cost you the game. I don't put them above. And with that defense, where the defense is in the lower third of scoring, and when it comes to giving up almost 400 yards a game, no, I can't put Minnesota up there. 877-867-1670. Do you see it different, Ben? Am I going crazy here?
No, I'm with you. Okay. I'm not. I still yes, I think Cowboys are 2 and ahead of Minnesota. I would put the Niners ahead of Minnesota as well. But I think there's a bigger gap between 1 and then 2, 3, and then 4 than there is between those other numbers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of math, but I think I know what I'm saying.
The other piece of news which is what we've kind of been waiting to come out for, is, and I'm just kind of reading some of the stuff that you sent me, is Mark Maskey, who is an NFL reporter and works with the Washington Post, by the way. The final report by the House Oversight Committee says that Daniel Snyder evaded questions by saying more than 100 times he did not know or could not recall information and gave, quote, misleading testimony in July, coming from sources. Also, it appears that I haven't read all of this, Ben. This is somewhat just coming to me, but it's over the 14th month probe, the 79-page report on the Democratic-led investigation gave the strongest indication yet that the team or somebody working on its behalf leaked the inflammatory emails that prompted Congress to get involved in October of 2021, according to the report. Also testifying to the committee, Snyder spoke about using private investigators to gather information on the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, according to the report. He testified that the team informed the NFL in 2009 about allegations against him that led to a $1.6 million settlement with a former employee who accused him of sexual assault back then. And it goes on from there. But did they read, and I'm trying to kind of read this, and I saw what some of your comments were. Did they release the John Gruden emails?
From what Mark is saying, and I guess we're going to ask a question we've asked for, a year? Is this it for Commander Dan? Mark, the author of the story, did say that Bruce Allen testified that the commanders released the emails, correct?
This is, wow, this is 105 pages of report that has now been released. This is going to take a long time to get through.
That's why we're on Twitter, because people go through it and then they write what's important.
Right. Yeah.
It's like Spark Notes, but for professionals.
That's a lot. That's a lot of stuff. But wow. All of this, I don't know what the outcome of this is going to be, what they're going to finally say and or do, if there's criminality here or if there's something else, or they haven't really handed down any indictments. But yeah, it's I don't want to say it's interesting. It's beyond interesting. It is over the last year, they say Mr. Snyder engaged in a series of attempts to interfere with the committee's investigation. Mr. Snyder publicly assailed witnesses, refused to release former employees from their confidentiality obligations, and blocked the committee's access to tens of thousands of documents collected during the Wilkins investigation. The Democrats, sham of an investigation, blah, blah, blah. See, this is where it gets political, and I think it's garbage. You want to find the truth out about this guy. You want to find out what's going on. There's two civil lawsuits against the Commanders, we all know. Snyder and the team face a second NFL investigation now, this one led by the attorney Mary Jo White. They say today's report reflects damning findings of the committee's year-long investigation and shows how one of the most powerful organizations in America, the NFL, mishandled pervasive sexual harassment and misconduct charges as the Washington Commanders. Our report tells the story of a team rife with sexual harassment, misconduct, a billionaire owner intent on deflecting blame, and an influential organization that chose to cover this up rather than seek accountability and stand up for its employees. Today, after a lengthy and wide-ranging investigation, the Committee on Oversight and Reform issued a comprehensive report that definitely details not only the extensive sexual harassment that occurred, but also the owner, Daniel Snyder's involvement in that specifically, and his efforts to obstruct all the various investigations into the scandal. And it reveals the NFL's side of things, a, quote, shameless effort to cover up the wrongdoing by one of its owners. The committee's final report comes amid uncertainty about Snyder's future in the NFL, and the Commanders announced last month that Snyder had hired an investment bank to start to weigh some offers for the franchise. The committee's investigation began in the wake of John Gruden's October 2021 resignation from the Raiders, and the Wall Street Journal report that had some racist comments in it. According to the committee's report, Allen learned on October 21st, 2021, that many of the emails called by Snyder's lawyers from the team's email account had been leaked to the Journal. The NFL previously denied leaking the emails, but has not pointed so directly to the team being responsible. Gruden filed the lawsuit. The emails, he, quote, says, publicly sabotaged his career. This is just a long list of just allegations and finger pointing and stuff going on behind the scene. And, man, oh man, oh man.
Our Commanders!
They say that part of this was due to Daniel Snyder leaking these as a way to trying to send a message to others to say, be careful. In other words, don't sell me out. According to Mr. Allen, and Mr. Snyder's actions signaled he owns me with these emails, which affected coworkers and such, the alumni, and many family and friends. In other words, this was a guy that if he would do whatever he wants, and then what happens is when you complain about it, basically in the Cliff Notes version of this, what he would do is hire a private investigator to go find all the dirt on you. And as soon as he found it, he held it over your head. He basically blackmailed you. The investigators told Mr. Allen that they were just here to follow the document of your actions. Mr. Allen testified that Mr. Snyder commented on his plans to use private investigators to follow other individuals, including the commissioner of football. And he gathered dirt on everybody. Reports said the committee's investigation revealed that the NFL chose to negotiate the financial penalty with Snyder rather than refer the decision to the NFL's executive committee for a vote. In other words, he had the goods on him and they didn't want it to go public. And then there's the misinformation about the taxation of the Commanders, what they were doing with some of their money. I mean, this goes on and on and on. Snyder abused the subpoena power of the federal courts on at least 10 separate occasions by using a lawsuit against the media company in India to try to obtain private emails and communications from his perceived detractors. It's just, in other words, there's a lot of dirt, a lot of ugly below the surface. And this guy was running around doing anything and everything he could to gather as much dirt on as many people. I've always said it's if you've got money, that's one thing, but information is power. Because there's a lot of things, if people actually look behind the curtains of every person in America, you've got something you're probably ashamed of. Everybody does, right? And what he does is he finds it, and then he holds it over your head to do basically whatever it is he wants to do. That's Daniel Snyder, and that's what he's been doing. So, boy.
Doesn't he strike you as a guy that would get caught up in a pet monkey biting a kid during Halloween fiasco, more so than a Texas offensive coordinator?
Yeah, right. It's, and I bring it up, and this is all just kind of like coming out, but I bring it up because I've said all along, we love the NFL. We love football on Sundays. We love football on Thursdays. We love football on Mondays. We love the postseason. We love all of it. Ugly business. It really is. At times with particular players and claims and such, and they are nothing more than commodities and pieces of meat, which is what Aaron Rodgers was trying to relay to people when he wanted to hold out and say, maybe I won't come back, because he gets tired of being treated like a piece of meat. We're human beings. We've got feelings. We've got emotions. We've got families. We've got lives. We've got certain things that make us human. We're not just these commodities of millions of dollars that you can dictate everything to us, much like the Andrew Luck story that just came out, and where he just said he started to lose himself because it was all about Sunday. It was all about the game. It was, and then he siloed his life because of it. So and I've said this before, when you look behind the curtain of the NFL, you don't really want to see it. It's kind of like, you love steak, but you don't want to see how they're made. It can be an ugly business. And this just brings that to surface. This cracks open that Pandora's box and says there's an owner that was gathering dirty information on anybody and everybody he possibly could, using every tactic he possibly could to avoid prosecution of any type, to avoid his detractors, to say, yeah, you can't say anything about me because I got the dirt on you. You're just as scummy as I am, including the commissioner of the NFL. And this is all now starting to come out. I don't know when the dust settles, what's going to happen. I would assume he's going to end up selling the team. The NFL is not going to, quote, force him to sell it. And then it's just very going to quietly go away. I hope it doesn't. But, man, what a scummy practice behind closed doors. So there you go. 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up, feel free. Today, yes, John, we have fantasy football questions coming up today after the top of the hour. Paul Charchian is going to be back with us today. So start getting your fantasy football questions in as well, as your season, I'm sure, is beginning to wind down. Jockeying for placement in postseason, on the move and on the come. But Paul Charchian is going to be here coming up in about 40 minutes from now. Stay tuned for that. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. This portion of the program brought to you by the Water Doctors. H2, the letter O, doctors.com. That's H2, the letter O, doctors.com. Get a hold of our buddy John Atlee over there at the Water Doctors. Not only do they have the Connecticut water softening system, which is hands down the best, but they also give back to the community, the Custom Canine Service Dog Academy, helping veterans in need, and they give some money to them as well. You can also donate simply by going to the website, H2, the letter O, doctors.com, H2ODoctors.com. And if you're looking for the water softening system and you live anywhere in the state of Wisconsin, he can get you in touch with a dealer near you. Call him 262-549-7733. 262-549-7733. 262-549-7733. I love the Connecticut water softening system. I have it in my house. I swear by it. Great system. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Oh, ho, ho. I need new windows.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it 2 years later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hella no, pay later. Ho, ho.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Sure, restrict the lines and show for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
The Bill Michaels Show is brought to you by our friends at New Mail Medical, treating guys with ED all over the state of Wisconsin, well beyond the borders. All you got to do is call 414-455-4451. That is 414-455-4451. Whether it's ED, low T, if you're looking for the all-in-one weight loss program, whatever it may be, they can help you out, but you can't do anything if you don't call. 414-455-4451. That's 455-4451. That's the New Mel Medical Center. It works. This time of year, you're doing the cookies and the cakes and the pies and all the other stuff and the food and the parties and all the appetizers and good stuff. And start out with a new you in 2023, so just call 414-455-4451. That's 414-455-4451. There you go. This one's from Mark, who says, I've always thought that Daniel Snyder was a scumbag, and then you hear all the things that he does and runs around and tries to put out his own fires. I think this guy needs to not only be kicked out of the league, but also kicked out of our country or rot in a prison for a long time. Rich guys can't get away with this kind of stuff. It is. It is. It's you read about this stuff and you're like, geez, are you kidding me? Right? And I talked about the NFL a little bit. B-Rad says on the wall years ago, the other side wants to take you down. Look at the history over the last, say, 20 years alone. Media strives and thrives on it. So sick of the local news here, cause the first 5 to 10 minutes is murders, rapes, robberies, like you just see one day of total goodness and optimism. Well, I don't know what that has to do with the NFL specifically, but it's interesting because back during the CTE stuff in regards to the NFL, a lot of media, and rightfully so. I mean, it's a legitimate issue to be discussed, but there's a lot of media that were just hardcore coming after the NFL. This is the end of the NFL. Get rid of the NFL. And I kept thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. If you get rid of the NFL, which is the biggest, baddest beast on the block, which really pays a lot of bills for a lot of people, you're in essence cutting your nose off to spite your face. And I found it so there was a couple of talk show hosts specifically coming out of Chicago that were just ripping the NFL at every turn. And some of the stuff was legitimate, and I learned a lot. I love discussion, but it was almost like they wanted to ban the NFL and get rid of it. And I kept thinking, much like the state of Wisconsin, what reigns supreme in the state is the Green Bay Packers. Big in the state of Illinois is the Chicago Bears. And I'm thinking, why do you want to take them down? Why do you want to do that? So I don't know. It just, it's always going to be in many different cases of sports, it's going to be a political hot potato. But, I've always said, try to do things the best you can, as safe as you can, and enjoy the game. The problem is that there's some creeps and cruds that leak into it that give everybody a bad taste. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to give us a shout? Open it up. Anything. Let's go to Dwayne listening to us in Oshkosh. Dwayne, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Not bad, Billy. Hey, just a quick thing. There used to be a TV show back in the day called The Magician. That's my new nickname for Greg Gard. Hats off to what these kids are doing at Wisconsin so far in this basketball program. It's ridiculous.
Right? I agree.
I mean, oh my gosh.
But isn't this like Greg Gard? There was years ago that he wasn't supposed to pick to do anything, and they ended up, either winning the Big Ten or getting into the top four. They won the Big Ten, I think. And just, it's once you got rid of kind of past the bad apples that they had, it seems like the program has always, under Gard, before that, Bo Ryan, it's always excelled. If you just buy into the program, you do things the right way, and it's always a team that hustles and plays extremely hard. So you always appreciate watching it. So no, kudos. I completely agree.
Yeah, and he saluted Tony Bennett the other night with the sweater vest.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's beautiful. Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
He's doing that. He's doing it for a different coach all year. Flipping the switch, when I grew up listening to sports talk, there was a gentleman in Milwaukee, Jack Baker.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the best time of the year as a kid growing up to listen to sports talk back then because of the baseball meetings. And man, it has been crickets on the Brewer front.
We thought that there would be some kind of an announcement. I really thought there was a lot of speculation whether or not they'd pick up a catcher from the Blue Jays organization because the Blue Jays have a plethora of catchers and the Brewers are obviously in need of one. We thought that there might be something there. But, yeah, it seems like right now, other than some of the bigger deals being signed, it seems like the winter meetings are kind of used for paving the way for later on in the offseason to make some additional moves, maybe here in early December and then maybe in early January. But, yeah, it hasn't been the activity, the flurry of activity we were kind of hoping for, huh?
No, and you know, they've been such a confusing thing. They get rid of the best hitter they had in Renfroe, and then they make a trade and get rid of Wong, who is the second best hitter, and then they bring in Jesse Winker, who's got Central, you know, all that history. But it's like, wait a minute, you got rid of Renfroe to bring in Winker? And I know they love these outfield kids they've got and all that, but has anybody down there, because nobody up here, you know, up in this area, even mentioned hardly why the Renfroe trade, what was the thinking behind it, what do you, you know, any of that. So if you guys touch on that, it'd be great.
They didn't want to play him. They didn't want to pay him. That was it. They didn't, for the productivity he was given, they just didn't want to pick up that option. They didn't want to pay him. And he kind of felt that he knew that. He talked about that, but it all came down to money.
Wow. And, you know, and that's what, I don't know if you saw it this week, Council was on MLB.
Yes, I did.
And
we did actually we played that back and talking about the Josh Hader trade and basically that being about money, and they underestimated the effect it had on the ball club.
And that was the boom right there. I mean, there's somebody actually came out and said, it's about money. You know, it's like I was watching your huddle last night, and I say watching because I get you on the last thing. Mike Clemens' story on the Kylan, the Hill kid, man, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
That was like, hey, this potential, and the thing I didn't know about the love thing either. That was just amazing. The last thing about the bowl games, Bill, starting, I think the first one is like the Bahamas Bowl.
Yes.
Which is always great because if it's a cruddy day in Wisconsin, you feel a lot warmer. You want to watch these games, and I know you do it professionally, and I used to. You want to watch these games as a Packer fan. Get out your Christmas list and go, where is this guy? Where is this guy? Where am I looking to find these guys? That's how you do that. You know, that's how Goody's going to do it. Now, the last thing I would say with Goody is his third draft is getting better. And what I mean by that is Ted, maybe Ron a little bit, but Ted was the author of the street free agent draft.
Right.
He always found talent off of that. And Goody's starting to do that. Rudy Ford comes to mind. The Nixon kid comes to mind. Castaways, Kickaways, you know,
right,
done.
Right.
Don't fit. And that is a huge part. And I think, and I could be wrong on this, but I know when we won the 96 Super Bowl, the entire defensive line in Green Bay was not drafted by the Pack. And Sammy Shields, Jamon Williams, the year that team won the Super Bowl, street free agents,
right?
Not drafted.
Yep. I completely agree with you. I mean, you go and appreciate the phone call. Thanks so much for giving us a buzz. When you look at the first couple of years of Goody's drafts, you got 4 guys left remaining on this team. But the one thing you can't deny is some of the street guys he's picked up, some of the free agents he's picked up, some of the moves he's made that way to continually fortify the team. Now, granted, you're paying a little bit more money than you are just drafting and developing guys, but nevertheless, he's at least been able to fortify the team. What you really need is, granted, you had Rashawn Gary, Darnell Savage, and Elton Jenkins. Now, Savage is on the downside for whatever reason this year and having a bad season. He needs to bounce back next year. But what you really need is to see Runyon continue to excel, DeGuara to be used next year in some facet as that third round, because third round draft choices, we've talked about it time and again ad nauseum. They haven't panned out. You need DeGuara to be used in some facet that's going to be a different dynamic to this offense. You need, eventually Jordan Love to pan out, and A.J. Dillon obviously has been good. But you need Stokes. You need him to come back and play well. You need not Amari Rodgers. TJ Slayton took it because Amari Rogers gone. Obviously, another third-round draft choice that was bad. TJ Slayton, he's really got to take that next step. He's got to be a body. He's got to be a big dude. He's got to be somebody that's impactful. You need, obviously, Zach Thomas played extremely well. Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt, both of those guys. Christian Watson is starting to really come on. Romeo Dobbs, when he comes back, you hope that he really excels. So, and Gabari has played, I think, far above his fifth-round draft status. Jonathan Ford, you'd like to see him do something. Samori Toure could really make that draft. I remember when Donald Driver was drafted in the seventh round, and Ron Wolf walked up to him and said, "Man, I need you to make this team for this draft to be successful." And Donald Driver went on to be a Packer Hall of Famer. If Samori Toure can make this squad and make it better in the coming years and really develop into something as well between Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Toure, man, this draft, this 2022 draft could really pan out to be maybe the crowning achievement thus far by Brian Gutekunst. But the first few years, man, it was all relying upon undrafted guys and on the free agents, because only 4 guys remain out of the first couple of drafts. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up, feel free to continue to go ahead and do so. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Go to PellaWI.com. That is PellaWI.com, or call them 855-PellaWI. Now, here's something for you. You don't have to pay anything until the end of 2023 going into 2024. How about that? 1 year. Just take it off. No payments, no interest, no nothing. Just enjoy yourself, but you can get the windows now. They're installing now. They're measuring now. They're doing the custom appointments now. So all you got to do is get a hold of Pella, whether it's 1 window, 10 windows, an entire house, patio door system, entry door system, whatever. Get a hold of our friends at Pella, because you know why? They want your house to be economical, more beautiful, more valuable. Okay. It's rated so high by so many people that have gone with them in my listening audience. Okay. Because they're just huge that way. However, the best part about it is, makes your home more valuable, more beautiful, more economical, but you can do it right now and keep the jingle in your pocket, because we all know this is the time of year you're out buying gifts and presents and all that kind of knick-knack stuff. So that way you don't have to pay anything for a while, but give Pella a call, because if it's on the books now before the end of the year, you get the deal. So call them, 855-PELLA-WI. That's 855-PELLA-WI, or go to PellaWI.com. That is PellaWI.com.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Get the fantasy football questions in now. Get them in. Charch is going to be here. He's back this week. Going to talk with him coming up here in about 15 minutes. Hang out for that. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Kane and Kane Jewelers. They're in West Bend. This time of year is when you're going to start looking for the jewelry. You're going to maybe the rings, necklaces, earrings, maybe the man watch and or bracelet. I don't know. Whatever you're looking for. But if you're looking for jewelry, it is worth the trip to go to see our friends Andy and Jen Kane at Kane and Kane Jewelers in West Bend. It really is. They got a great establishment. They've been around a long time. And whether it's a private showing that you want, title, or if you just want to go out there and check it out and get a great deal. I don't want to say deal because deals make it sound like there's something cheap. If you want to get the highest of high quality for an unbelievably good, sustainable price. That might be the best way to put it. But also, don't forget, go to Kane Jewelry, KOEHN, KaneJewelry.com. And at the bottom of the page, you've got the Buy Like a Guy podcast. So, guys, listen, if you're looking to go buy something like that for the girl of your dreams, they'll show you how to do it. He'll talk to you about it. It's a really good podcast, too. So there you have it. Go ahead, Ben. Were you going to say? Oops.
It's coming up at noon. Kevin Holden at 1 o'clock
There we
as
go.
well. So stay right there. We're back. Oh,
I'm
Bill's
back.
back.
I don't know what happened.
There we go.
Just all of a sudden, everything just
Never
went
mind.
dead. Like lights went out and everything.
All right.
It was, he had like a power surge or something. See, this is the reason we have the backup generator here at the house. Everything worked the way it's supposed to. We got kicked off. Lights went out, everything, I don't know what the hell's going on, but all of a sudden we're back on. So good stuff. But yeah, check out our friends at
I have a,
yes, go ahead.
Oh, I have an important update, Bill.
Please go.
So I mentioned the Marcus Allen situation, the wide receiver that went to the portal when Paul Chris was fired, committed to Minnesota, has since announced intent that he's returning to the Badgers. Jack Sitchie, former Wisconsin linebacker, who was on the Bucs for a couple of years, dealt with injuries. He's now on the Wisconsin coaching staff in an assistant role, tweeted out, and he has since deleted it, quote, ran the wrong routes consistently, dropped countless passes in game and practice, couldn't take responsibility and enters the portal. Commit to a rival, decommit, and expect to be welcomed back. Kids are so soft, it's embarrassing. End quote.
Wow. And he's deleted it?
Yeah, he followed up with, should I have kept my mouth shut? Absolutely. But I care too much about this place to do that. If you think we're going to have any different results from the past 2 years by welcoming back people who jump ship, think again.
Good for him. Good for him. Guys inside the locker room know. They know. That's the reason that, when Aaron Rodgers, and I know we're running late, but that's the reason when Aaron Rodgers talked about guys losing playing time and everything, and other players took offense to it, and Rodgers said, well, I didn't use names, but guys inside the locker room know. They know who you're talking about. They know who you're ripping. Yeah, interesting stuff. Good stuff. I have no problem. Do you have a problem with it?
I wouldn't. If that's how you feel, it's not something I don't think there's any benefit into putting that out there, especially if he is coming back. Feels like something that maybe should be dealt with internally, because Sitchie's on staff. He's not just a former player commenting on it.
Right.
Like he is there. So I would not have tweeted it. The message, I don't know. I can't speak for the people in the room and how they feel and how it feels going forward.
Boy, that's strong, man. Yeah, on staff, you don't really want to say it, but if you're on staff, you say it behind closed doors to people in the locker room. But like he said, he's trying to let everybody know, no. Don't be welcoming these people back with open arms. They're not that damn good. They don't take responsibility. They can't be accountable. And then they jump ship to a rival, and then they want to come back and say like, oh, I'm coming back, like welcome me back, and this is some great thing. I get it. I get it. There were players inside that Packers locker room back when Favre used to do it. I don't know if I'm going to come back. And then 2 days before camp, we do Fan Fest or whatever, and Favre would walk through the door and everybody go crazy. And there were players in there like, screw this guy. He takes all the spotlight. He doesn't he doesn't care about us. The franchise is locked up. They don't know whether or not to go out and find somebody. And there were players in that locker room, much like there are today with Rodgers, that are looking forward to the day they don't have to play with that guy anymore. They don't want the ego. You're making $50 million and you want to have Cobby coach us up, that type of thing. So I get it. Sitchie's letting everybody know. And the fact that he's on staff makes it a little different, but I like it. I like it a lot. 877-867-1670. We're about 10 minutes away from fantasy football. Get a hold of us. Charch is right around the corner. Stay tuned.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers have 4 remaining games on the schedule. Matt LaFleur says the defense needs to reduce the number of missed.
More heads to the ball. We got to be on our assignments.
Although the Packers won 28-19 on Sunday against the Bears, Green Bay's defense gave up 409 yards of total offense with 155 yards on the ground. Packers nose tackle Kenny Clark.
At this point, right now, I'm just trying to, put together a great game and, help our defense, put together a great game. Seeing like all year, just everything just really been a roller coaster. So, at this point, we just trying to just win a football game and play good football at the end of the day.
Despite being 5-8, the Packers still have a slim chance of making the playoffs.
We still in the thick of it. And we got to just keep playing ball. Keep chopping wood and just get back to work.
That's Packers nose tackle Kenny Clark. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Downtown Waukesha. Go to theniceash.com. That's theniceash.com. Good cigars, hookahs, really good selection of liquors and spirits and bourbons and such. But just a lot of fun. Really good place. And you don't have to worry about the smell because they have so many. They got like 14 smoke eaters in that joint, and they leave the doors open too. It's not cold in there or anything, but they leave the doors open clear. So don't worry about that either. I've never had an issue. That's our friends at the Nice Ash, downtown Waukesha. So stop in and tell them we said hi. Back at it, coming up after the top of the hour. We got our buddy Paul Charchian is going to be here, and we'll talk with him fantasy football. So get your fantasy football questions in right now. We got a few of them that have come in, so I want to get as many as we can. That way, Paul's got something to do. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Do it again. 877-867-1670. Got some emails to get to as well after the top of the hour, so hang in there, and we'll give you that. What else do we have coming up today, Ben? We got our picks today, right? Our betting picks.
Correct.
3 for 3 last week. I was doing well. Not bad.
You were, a blind squirrel finds some food at times.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Holden.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Coming up 1 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay. There you go. The last hour of the program. Kevin and his wife, I think, are coming over this weekend, but I think she's going to stop by with some things, we'll say, for the party this weekend. Now, she's supposed to stop by tonight. I'll see Christy tonight, but Kevin's going to join us. So anyway, Steven wants to know, are the Badgers going to have a less strict GPA to allow more talent to come into Wisconsin? No, that's not going to happen. There is this perception, and we've talked about it before. There's this perception that it's just almost like, this like Harvard Medical College should be able to get into UW as a student, and that's not it. It's you're just taking an extra credit, usually in your high school days, and for the most part, you should be able to get in. Most people do. I mean, it's not deterring the average high school student athlete. There are a couple schools throughout the country that try to give you just the basics to get you through high school. And that's, when you find an athlete like that has just did the basics, if he wants to go to Wisconsin, you usually tell him ahead of time, say, hey, you got to take a couple extra classes, an extra language, whatever, to get it up to speed. That's all you need. It's not impossible. It's not terrible. Paul Charchian coming up next. Can't wait. Charch is back after a bit of a bout. A little bit of a bout with COVID. So good to have him back. No, Pack fans, he's not stopping by with edibles. No, beverages. Not edibles. No, there's no edibles at the party. I just tell you that right now. Awesome fun, though. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin has its new offensive coordinator. It was reported yesterday by The Athletic that new coach Luke Fickell was bringing in North Carolina offensive coordinator Phil Longo for the same role on his staff. Longo's been at UNC for the last 4 years, fielded some of the best offenses in school history. They finished in the top 15 in total offense all 4 years, averaged more than 36 points per game. One guy that apparently liked the hire, wide receiver Marcus Allen. He had entered the transfer portal during the season and committed to Minnesota last week, but he decommitted yesterday and then reportedly took his name out of the transfer portal and will return to Wisconsin. Allen was one of a number of Badgers that went into the portal, which now has more than 1,000 names in it from around the country. Wisconsin likely to use it to fill holes, though Fickell says they have to be careful.
I think there's a great culture here, and I always worry about if you add too many people that don't have 3, 4, 5 years to build the relationships here, that you can really kind of mess up some of the cultures and things that have been built. And that's what I think they've done a really good job here. It will be an interesting 3 weeks for me to be able to assess and figure out some of those things along with the help of the guys around me.
Wisconsin going to face Oklahoma State in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl coming up on December 27th.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up, and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Bucks have won 6 of their last 7 games. That's after a 126-113 win over Sacramento last night. Giannis Antetokounmpo scored 35 points, his 8th straight 30-point game. They're going to be in Dallas tomorrow night. And Wisconsin going to head to Iowa to face the Hawkeyes on Sunday. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Hour number 3 of the Bill Michaels Show. We are so glad you were on board today, and we are so glad to have him back after a brief bout with the big vid. Our buddy Paul Charchian joining us on the hotline. Charch, how you doing, pal? How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm doing better. Thank you very much. The phlegm factor way lower this week, I'm happy to say. It was not good last week.
Yeah.
That's the part about COVID nobody talks about, the phlegm.
Yeah.
Really, that should be the lead story, I think.
Okay. Is there now? Was that? I will say this. I've had this all throughout the fall months. This like drainage, and I hate to get gross here with the phlegm and the drainage, but it's been something where it's every day. It's like Claritin or something else to dry me up every day. I've never had this before. Growing up as a kid and all my adulthood, I've never had it. This year, after I had COVID last year. It's been not COVID. It's been Claritin every single day, twice a day.
Maybe you're now you're phlegm friendly. I mean, it didn't used to be this way. Maybe COVID has now made you, you're like a safe harbor for phlegm now. That's possible. But you know what I like about it, Bill, and your voice. I mean, it brings sort of a gravelly part to your voice. I like it. It's kind of sexy, if I'm honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Paul, let's get at the because this is a big week in a lot of sense. No Jimmy Garoppolo. You got Purdy coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Christian McCaffrey is got that matchup with Tampa Bay. You've got right in your own backyard. You've got an offense that can move, but you got Kirk Cousins, who's only got one postseason win, but a defense that's given up points and yards at an unbelievable pace. I mean, where do you want to? Let's do that.
Sure. Well, I mean, you mentioned the Vikings, so let's hit on this game. Vikings are a 10-2 team that is an underdog against the Lions. 2.5-point underdog.
Mm-hmm.
The Lions have gotten a lot better. Obviously, they've won 4 of the last 5 games. One of the ways they've done it, Bill, that nobody's talking about, because they've got some eye-popping guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown looks amazing right now. A lot of things are going right. Their run defense has suddenly become very good. In this streak of 4 wins in 5 games, Detroit's allowing 3.7 yards per carry. No back is top 72 yards. And Dalvin Cook has had some struggles lately. In the 2 full games without starting left tackle, Christian Darrisaw, last couple of weeks, he's averaging 3 yards per carry. That's it. Lions have been very good against running backs as receivers as well, giving up just 3 catches for 20 yards during this 4-1 hot streak. So I think this thing is a sneaky, tough matchup, not just for Minnesota, but Dalvin Cook in particular.
I've got one here from Austin who says, need some help. Cam Akers or Rashad White this weekend?
How can you back any part of this Rams offense right now?
Right.
It's so bad. And, right now, if John Wolford doesn't go, they're going to put in Baker Mayfield on 2 days with the team. I mean, Bill, I've always wanted to believe that the quarterback position is a difficult position requiring months of lead up, all the training camps, the OTAs, mini camp, all the time with the playbook and everything else. You're telling me the quarterback position is so easy that Baker Mayfield can show up, get claimed on Tuesday and play on Thursday, and that's just going to be, easy? I don't know. There's a scenario here where the Rams don't score any points in this game. It's a terrible matchup. This is actually a very good run defense as well. Raiders quietly, Pro Football Focus's #1 run defense. Cam Akers not startable this week tonight.
Corey says regular season championship on the line. Do I need to start 1? Donta Foreman, Damian Pierce, or Jeff Wilson at the running back position?
Well, I've got Pierce the highest out of those. He's had some struggles lately. The whole Houston offense has not been great, but I'm glad they're going back to Davis Mills, which helps. And, the Cowboys are a great pass defense. Great. And if Houston never needs an excuse to not pass. They don't, they generally don't want to. So you get Dameon Pierce against a team that's allowing the 9th most rushing yards. And that's a positive matchup for him. And we know that, when there's no scenario where they won't give the ball to Dameon Pierce, he's the best thing the entire offense has got going. So I think he's the safest play out of that group. Jeff Wilson's kind of fascinating because Miami goes up against the Chargers. That's the worst run defense in the NFL. But Jeff Wilson barely got on the field last week. And so it's a lot harder to trust him. I know Dameon Pierce is going to get some work.
This one's from Anthony, who says Joe Burrow or Jalen Hurts.
Oh, come on. It's Jalen. I mean, Joe Burrow's good and everything, but Jalen Hurts is like fantasy MVP stuff here, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's thrown multiple touchdowns in 6 of the past 7 games. He's run in touchdowns in 3 of the past 4. It's a Giants defense is just middle of the pack at everything. My number 1 ranked quarterback is Jalen Hurts. Now, in fairness, Burrow is number 2. Now, I love Burrow's matchup too, but Jalen Hurts so special with what he can do, land and air, that I just think you gotta keep starting.
I found it interesting last night. A buddy of mine called and said it's a big weekend because he lives in Cincy. It's a big weekend. He said, don't forget, Joe Burrow's never beaten Cleveland.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Yeah.
How can Joe Burrow own Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and you can't get by Cleveland?
Right?
Weird.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Then this one, who else do we have here? This is Anthony, who says, I've got Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, wide receiver. No, never mind. That's another question for a whole other day. Duh. Nick.
Yeah, Aaron Jones obviously not playing this week.
Right.
We have reason to believe.
Yeah. Okay. His basic question was, he also has Nick Chubb and he has Miles Sanders. Which one would you start in place of Aaron Jones?
Oh, that's what he's trying to get at. I like Nick Chubb here. The game, last week should have been a smash spot for him against Houston, but the game script actually didn't really go his way as much as we thought, but he still got 17 carries. He has always played well here. If you want a reason why Cincinnati loses to Cleveland, it's Nick Chubb. He had 23 carries, 101 yards, and 2 touchdowns when these teams met earlier this season. He has been really the guy that has been the problem for the Bengals, and he always touches the ball a ton. He's my number 3 ranked running back this week, Nick Chubb.
This one, where'd it go? Steve had a question. He said, Trevor Lawrence or Kirk Cousins this weekend?
Oh, that's a tricky spot. I'm nervous about Kirk. By the way, Kirk got just destroyed and took so many shots last week. I'm impressed he's not on. I expect him to be on the injury report. I'm impressed he's not on the injury report. And that's part of what Kirk Cousins probably does not get enough credit for, is the dude's never missed time, and he has taken so many huge shots over the course of his time here. Now, Jacksonville's on bye, so we really don't have to worry about the either or on this one. So, but we'll mention Kirk Cousins goes up against the Lions secondary that's kind of improved up to middle of the pack. They're still giving up 251 yards, 1.5 touchdowns per game, and it's a nice opportunity for Cousins, who threw for 260 and 2 last time we met, and that sounds about right here. I've got him as my number 13 ranked quarterback.
I've got 2 or 3 people that are asking, and Lamar Jackson, we don't even know if he's going to play yet, right?
He's not out. He's not going to play. He's going to be out 2 or 3 weeks.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought he was because they listed him as week to week, and there's a few people that have asked about Lamar Jackson. I don't even think he's going to play.
Yeah.
But
and by the way, Jacksonville not on bye. I don't know why I had a brain fart on Jacksonville. So sorry about that.
Yep.
I don't know. Sorry. That was on me. So let me back that. Let me back that up for a moment. Sorry about that. Yeah. I don't know what. I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry.
This one's from Vince, who says Judy or Thielen.
Judy or Thielen? Well, it's a good question. I've got Thielen on a modest grade here, but I don't necessarily love him. It was interesting. The last time the Vikings played the Lions, they basically, their game plan was anything but Justin Jefferson. And they held Justin Jefferson to 13 yards in that game, and Thielen had the big game. And it ended up being a very, very close game, as all the Vikings games are. Very, very close. And so you can make a good case of they'll try the same style this time against Thielen, They gave up 6 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown to Thielen in the last one. I don't have to tell your listeners because you know the Lions well. This is the middle of the pack cornerbacks, Jerry Jacobs and Mike Hughes and Jeff Okudah. So there's a decent opportunity. I've got him a couple of spots higher. We'll take Adam Thielen.
Mason says Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb.
Ooh, how is it one or the other on this? I mean,
right?
Who else do you have? Devontae Adams? I mean, I don't know who else you got to have.
Right?
You got to go between those guys. Here's why I would sit CeeDee Lamb. Houston's run defense is so bad. There's a real scenario that it's just Zeke and Pollard for the whole game. And then, then Dallas gets way up ahead, and they're not even passing in the final third of the game. And that's how you can put CeeDee Lamb on a down game. Jamar Chase came last week, coming off of that injury. All he did was lead the team in targets, receptions, receiving yards, and he hurdled a defender. So he's obviously back. He's my number 3 wideout this week.
By the way, he says my other wideout is Justin Jefferson.
That's why. I guess. Yeah. I mean, and that's, the funny thing is, I mean, I would start to, you can't ever bench Justin Jefferson.
Right.
Hey, did you see this? We were talking about the Vikings for a second. If you were to invert every team's one score outcomes, the Vikings would have 1 win on the season.
Wow.
Worst in the league.
We talked about that earlier. I said we were doing our rankings for the NFC and the AFC, and I said, look, I got to go Philadelphia. I got to go Dallas. I don't know what Purdy's going to bring to the table, but because of their defense, which is so incredibly good in San Francisco, I might have to go San Francisco number 3. And I know I'm pissing off Vikings fans, but the defense is second to last in yards given up. I think they're 20th in points given up this season. They're hanging on, and then you go into the postseason, and Kirk Cousins has 1 career win in the postseason. You got to take that into account. So, while I think they're a good team, I don't know if they're on the level of great team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Look, for a 10-2 team, and and I've been part of plenty of other fast starts. The Brett Favre year, 2009, the team was 10-2. Randy Moss's year, they were 11-1 at this stage. Those teams had an electricity to them that this one doesn't. Viking fans they're just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and then you play Dallas 3 weeks ago and get destroyed. And so there isn't the same kind of sense like this could be a team of destiny because the defense just isn't good enough, and the defense just keeps yielding over and over again, and they somehow manage to win. And I mean, that counts for a lot, but man, it doesn't have that feel to it.
This is from Mark, who says Najee Harris, Zeke Elliott, or Joe Mixon.
Well, I think Zeke is the easy answer to this because Houston, again, worst run defense in the league by a fair margin. He's gotten a lot of action since returning from injury 3 games ago, averaging 70 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns in those 3 games. He gets the ball to stripe. Pollard doesn't. Houston gives up as I mentioned, the most yards, also second most yards per carry. They've also given up the most rushing touchdowns in the league. So pretty hard to argue with Zeke, even in a dual threat, backfield.
And I think Mixon's back this week. He was in concussion protocol for 2 weeks. So I think he's actually back this week.
Yeah.
But Ryan's been actually running the ball really well for them.
He has, and that's part of the problem, right? So, Ryan's look good enough that even with Mixon gets the start, which we expect is going to be the case, Ryan's just earned the right to be a bigger part of that offense, and that's a worry.
Before I let you go, give me a sleeper. Give me something good.
DJ Chark against my Vikings. We were just saying, we have some concern about the Vikings secondary, and I think that's very real. Vikings have got 1 good cornerback and only one. And that is Patrick Peterson. All the other matchups across the field are going to be very positive for DJ Chark, who had been hurt for a long time. Came back 2 weeks ago, didn't do a lot, then came back last week at full strength, 98 yards and a touchdown. And now off of that game, I like him here. Vikings are going to have their hands full with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I think DJ Chark gets a lot of one-on-one matchups. Nice opportunity for him.
Paul, great stuff as always. Good to have you back, and stay well, man. Stay healthy, okay?
Yeah, stay. Let's see what we can do about keeping you phlegm free.
Anti-phlegm this week. I get it. I get it. Hey, by the way, one of these years, I'm going to have you do your show here because we'd love to have you guys at the party this week. And I know you got to work, but one of these years, man, one of these years.
I know. I'd love to do it. I'd love to do it. We just don't. Yeah, fantasy season it's cruel. No time off. I hate it. That part of it's bad.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Good
Thank
stuff,
you, my
buddy.
friend.
We'll
Talk to you later.
soon. There you go. That's our buddy Paul Charchian joining us on the hotline for a couple and trying to get a little mix of everybody's questions that were flying in once we get. I always say try to get it in early. Get it in early to us so I can kind of chart these things and they start flying in Twitter and emails and on the Bud Light live stream and such as we get going. So try to get as many of as we possibly can. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Buzzard Billy's out in La Crosse. And if you're in La Crosse, you can do a little downtown shopping a little bit local, heading out and about. And then afterwards, you're going to want to eat. And that's a great place to eat. They support veterans. And on top of it, literally on top of it, upstairs is the Starlight Lounge. Go up there and get yourself a nice cocktail, nice martini. Take a rest, enjoy the music a little bit, sit back, relax, and take some time for the holiday season. That's our friends at Buzzard Billy, Starlight Lounge upstairs. Great places, both big supporters of our veterans, and we can't say thanks enough to them out in La Crosse for paying attention to the program. Stay tuned. We got more after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. Time in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine. A place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
If you are out and about, you want to take a load off out in the Waukesha area, you want some Italian food, like I told you, Kristen and I stopped into Albanese's last Friday night. Had a really nice time. Meatball sandwich, and I think she had some lasagna, and we sat down to talk to Joey, had a couple of drinks at the bar, and just a really relaxing night. Had some calamari, so just really good food, really great place, good people, family owned. It has been for a long, long time. That's Albanese's Roadhouse, Blue Mountain Road, out in the Brookfield, Waukesha area, right next to Menards. Cannot recommend it anymore if I had to. Really good stuff. If you're out in the Waukesha area and want some Italian food, that would be the place to go. That's our friends Joey Albanese and the gang. Let's see here. Dustin says, everybody in my league thought I was so dumb to trade away Nick Chubb 3 weeks ago for Devontae Adams and Gabe Davis. Yeah, right, because all of a sudden the Raiders have really come on. It looks like a favorable matchup coming up this evening as well, as they're obviously going into L.A. to take on the Rams. Going to have that, putting some finishing touches on the house tonight. So I got the game on in just about every level of the house. Be walking around doing floors and carpets and anything else this evening. But yeah, I'm going to have that one on. I'm going to have that one on for a couple of reasons. One is you're going to wait and see if they actually start Baker Mayfield. That's kind of an intrigue, right? But when you lost Aaron Donald, it's been a train wreck of a season, and the Raiders are intriguing as the Raiders have started to win. And you just wonder if the Raiders are good. They're only a couple of spots out right now. They're only a couple of losses out from getting back in it. And the Raiders have suddenly reeled off 3 straight, beating the Broncos this season. And the most impressive one was in back-to-back weeks, they put up 40 against the Seahawks in Seattle. And then they just beat the Chargers at home 27-20. They could knock off the Rams if they get really rolling. They go back to Vegas and play the Patriots. Then they have the Steelers. I mean, they could reel off, in essence, 6 in a row before they have to face the 49ers? And who knows what the 49ers are going to be at that point. The big one could come at the end of the season. They face the Kansas City Chiefs, come into Las Vegas. So that's the remaining schedule for them: the Rams, Patriots, Steelers, 49ers, and Chiefs. So wait and see. After starting off so dismally, they were 2-7. And all of a sudden now they've reeled off 3 straight to kind of climb back into this thing. So we'll see. We talk about the Packers all the time. Like, look, if you get hot and towards the end of the season you get hot, you can be one of the hotter teams going into the postseason that nobody's really going to want to face, because all of a sudden it started to click. You've started to become a believer again. You started to figure it out again. So maybe the Raiders are going to be that team. But obviously there's some Devontae Adams intrigue tonight too. They hold the wins in the tiebreaker over Cleveland based on the best win percentage in conference games. The division tiebreak was initially used to eliminate Pittsburgh. Cleveland wins that break over Pittsburgh based on the head-to-head win percentage. So you kind of follow it there. But yeah, the Raiders right now only 1 game behind the Chargers, and they just beat the Chargers. They just knocked the Chargers off. So if they get a win tonight, they go to 6-7, while they'll still have 1 loss more than the Chargers, whatever the Chargers do this weekend. If the Chargers lose and end up tied with Las Vegas because Vegas has beaten them, they would then overtake them out of the head-to-head. And then they still have to face New England too. So they might have a shot. 877-867-1670. You said Jason Garrett's going to Stanford, Ben?
Stuart Mandel of The Athletic has reported that he has emerged as a finalist for the Stanford job, which is objectively hilarious.
Do you like Jason Garrett as an announcer?
No, No, he's the most bland human ever.
He is.
But that whole NBC Sunday night, they're all kind of bland.
Yeah. I like Tirico and I like Collinsworth, but they have tried to make it, Tony Dungy's love everybody. And they've got names, I like it when Chris Sims stirs the pot. I like that. Then they brought in Collinsworth's kid who runs Pro Football Focus. So he's now a part of that mix. But man,
I wonder how he got that job,
right? But yeah, it's it is the soft belly of the broadcasts. Fox is a little bit critical. CBS is more staunch and stoic. Obviously, NFL Game Day on ESPN is pretty good. I like Mooch and the gang over on the NFL Network, but about the softest group of broadcasters and commentators is by far over on NBC, without a doubt. 87. Go ahead.
If it's true, I don't know what Jason Garrett's doing. Stanford is one of the worst jobs in the country at this point. With the new age of college football and how it's structured, like they're screwed.
Maybe he's looking for a job. Maybe it's just, hey, Stanford would pay him a lot. They got money.
I guess expectations are as low as possible.
Right. But they got money. Who knows? Yeah, right. The as Mark calls him, the proverbial redhead, the redheaded stepchild. Yep. Okay.
I've heard him referred to as the clapper because what he does best is clap
yes.
on the sidelines.
Yeah. We still got him. We're down 10 with 12 seconds to go. We still got him. There you go. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, do it again. 877-867-1670. Again, getting different questions about Jim Leonard, the next Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator, blah, blah, blah. There's different stories out that are out about it. Look, we talked a lot about this yesterday and put up a poll question, as a matter of fact, in regards to all of this. And I think that it is going to be something that's going to be, while it's going to be revisited, and I'm sure that somebody in Green Bay has reached out. I'm sure that somebody in Green Bay has sent a note over to say, hey, sorry about your luck, whatever. But I think there is still going to be a wide casting of the net, wide search, I would have to think, for the next defensive coordinator. And Mike Clements brought up a really good point last night about this. And it's something that we kind of discussed, but we never really went too in depth on. And that is that you've only got a few years left with Rodgers, most likely. Do you really want to bring in a first-time NFL defensive coordinator, a first-time NFL coach of any type, to be your defensive coordinator and try to, kind of, quote, learn on the fly, so to speak, whether or not you had NFL experience as a player or not? Do you really want a first-time coordinator to come in and try to run a defense and supplement the offense? Do you really want that to be, maybe after Rodgers leaves and you're in somewhat of a restart mode, not rebuild, but just maybe somewhat of a restart mode? Maybe the timing of this thing isn't real good right now, but do you really want a first-time defensive coordinator to be running your defense when you're in a win now mode? And that's a very good question. By the way, our poll question from yesterday, do you want to see Leonard as the next offensive or defensive coordinator? 72% said yes, 28% said no. We had well over 1,000 votes. How about that? Well over 1,000 votes, but 28% said no. The majority of people said no because they don't want to end up hating Jim Leonard. They don't want to blow him out. It's not that they don't think he's capable. It's just they don't want to, because everybody hates the defensive coordinator. They don't want to blow him out. But 72% said yes. But that's a great question. When you think about it in that perspective, does it make more sense not to hire Jim Leonard, Ben?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
When you look at Jim Leonard being a first-time NFL defensive coordinator, you are in a win-now mode with Aaron Rodgers, right? You've got him maybe 2 years. You're in a win now mode. Do you really want to go and dive into the pool of first-time defensive NFL coordinator?
I get that part of it. It would depend on who the other options are. If it's him or Fangio, I might take Fangio.
Right.
You know, if it's him or the other successful guys, probably take them. But still, if you look at it in a vacuum, I think he would fit perfectly in terms of what his defenses do, how good he is at coaching defense, and how bright his mind is. You know, the reason I don't want it is because I don't want him to get run out of town, which is a complete separate conversation. So the long answer is probably not. I would go with Fangio first.
Let's do this. 877-887-1670. When you think about it in those terms, do you still, for those that do want, Jim Leonard as the next defensive coordinator, but if you think about it in those terms, do you still want it that way? Do you still want a first-time NFL defensive coordinator taking over in a win-now mode, so to speak? 877-867-1670. Hit us up again, 877-867-1670. Find us. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Pindell, a quality machining and manufacturing company, New Berlin, Wisconsin, right here in our own backyard. Good people. It's not just a career, or it's not just a job. It's a career, and they train you. They can set you up for your future. That's our friends at Pindell. PINDEL.com. Think about it. PINDEL.com. Great benefits, and they pay their workers well. Pindell.com.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Here they come, the holidays. What to get the special people in your life? Good food? Better yet, great meat. Go to SchulzeFamilyBeef.com. That's SchulzeFamilyBeef.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. It is that time of year. You're looking for gift ideas. How about for somebody who likes to grill, maybe barbecue, what have you? Our friends at Burn Pit Barbecue, they put together some really nice gift boxes. And whether it's a sauce, rubs, hot sauces, they've got it all. You can go there and kind of mix and match, pick it out yourself. Go to Burn Pit Barbecue, Burn Pit, P-I-T, bbq.com, burnpitbarbecue.com. They are veteran-owned, and they're right here in the state of Wisconsin. Can't say enough of good things about these guys. So check out burnpitbarbecue.com, burnpitbarbecue.com. Before we get to our picks in the spread, let's get to the phone calls real quick. Let's go to John listening to us in Madison. John, welcome to the program, man. What's going on?
Hey, thanks. You know, for Jim Leonard, I would love to see him take the D coordinator position with the Packers for one reason. I want him to be able to finish kind of his fairy tale story of a life that he's had so far. You know, went from being a walk-on with the U, became a 3-time All-American, became a coach, became the D coordinator, put together one of the top defenses in the country. He's kind of risen to every challenge that's been put in front of him, put him in the pro league, let him prove himself, and then open the doors of opportunities for him to get that head coaching position at the college level or at the pro level. I can't say enough good things about him, and sure, he could fail and kind of get run out and tarnish his reputation, but I'll lean on the side to say I think he can do it, and I think he can impress us all and only build his reputation.
I think the hope, and appreciate the phone call, I think the hope that we have for Jim Leonard, if indeed that happens, that 100% agree with you. I would love to see the fairy tale of growing up here, going to Wisconsin, moving on to the NFL, getting the accolades, leaving the NFL, coming back to be one of the better defensive coordinators in college football, getting a shot at Wisconsin, and then growing up from there and making it better by even taking over as the defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers and maybe taking the Packers to a championship. That'd be fantastic. I agree with you. That's the fairy tale story, 100%. Hey, don't forget our friends at Lux Golf. They are open at the Ballpark Commons in Franklin, 57 bays and 3 stories overlooking a 250-yard long turf. Also, don't forget they have the Enchanted North Pole in Franklin right now at the same spot at the Lux Golf. It's open Friday through Sunday, all the way up into Christmas. The tubing hill, the sledding hill is now open as well. But the Enchanted North Pole, go to enchantednorthpole.com. Enchantednorthpole.com. They have hot cocoa, storytelling, Santa's elves, Christmas caroling. You can write a letter to Santa. Every child receives a 2022 Christmas ornament, which can be signed by Santa, Mrs. Claus, and the elves as well. It's a really, really, really cool event. Stop over and check out our friends over there at Lux Golf. It's the Ballpark Commons. And don't forget about enchantednorthpole.com. That is enchantednorthpole.com. All right, time to get to some picks. Ben, Kenny, you ready?
Yes, I will preface. I went 1-2. I am now 16, 21-2. Not admirable. You went 3-0 last week. You're 20-17-2.
20-17-2.
The competition is very close to 1.
Okay. All right. This week, you know what I'll do? I'll let you go first.
Oh, all right.
I'll let you go first.
Pick against whatever I pick, people. My first pick, Lions -2.5 at home against Minnesota. It's actually now 2. So Lions -2. Law of large numbers. Eventually, the Vikings have to drop one of these one-possession games. Since the Lions have fired their secondaries coach, their defense has played so much better. They are running the hell out of the football. The Vikings have won, but they haven't looked good recently. So I think we could see a true 5-7 might be better than it, and then 10-2 definitely worse than that record. It all comes to fruition on Sunday. I'll take the Lions.
Good pick. That's one of the ones I think we picked last night, too, as a matter of fact. I had talked about it earlier. Joe Burrow has not been able to beat the Browns. Cincinnati favored by 5.5 at Paul Brown Stadium this weekend in the Queen City. And you got Deshaun Watson is back. He looked rusty in game 1 against the Texans. There was nothing spectacular about it, but there was a different level of confidence now that they got what they believe to be their quarterback. I'm going to take the Bengals to win, but they will not beat the Cleveland Browns by 5.5. The win is maybe a toss-up, but I'm going to take Cleveland in this game. Cleveland's going to cover the 5.5. I really kind of believe that. So if the Bengals get a win, it'll be Joe Burrow's first win against Cleveland. But I'm going to take Cleveland to cover the 5.5 at Paul Brown Stadium in the Queen City of Cincinnati this coming weekend. There you go.
Wow. They are going to be the walleye defenders of Ohio, I guess.
Right?
I like Brock Purdy.
Okay.
I like this story. I like Shanny's offense. It works. You put in a guy, he knows the system. He's had a full year to practice against a great defense in San Francisco. Definitely has helped. The Buccaneers are 3.5-point dogs on the road in San Francisco. And like we've seen Tampa, they're nothing special. Brady doesn't, he looks engaged, but there have been struggles. I'm going to bet against Brock Purdy. I'm going to bet on the Tampa Bay defense to keep the game close. And maybe Brady can make enough plays for Tampa to actually win outright. So Bucks plus 3.5.
There you go. Bucks plus 3.5. My pick, I'm going with your Eagles. They're on the road. They're giving 7 in the Meadowlands at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Giants are a fraud. I believe that. I think the Eagles are going to expose them badly. I'm going to take the Eagles on the road to get the win and to cover. I bet you they win by 8 or more. I'm hoping 10, 14 or more, but I'm going to take the Eagles on the road to go to 12-1 and undefeated away from the link, but they're also going to cover that spread easily.
Oh, man. It's the NFC East. I don't know. Eagles-Giants has always been a throw out the records, and sometimes weird upsets happen. The Giants are a fraud.
It's not happening.
I hope you're right. You know what? I'm going to think you're right. And then if you're wrong, if the Eagles lose or if they win by 3, I'm going to blame the fact that you picked them as well.
Okay.
My last pick, Jaguars plus 4. I pick the Jaguars every week, and eventually it's going to have to come around for me. The Titans just got destroyed by Philly. The Jaguars don't have the run defense to do the same thing. Trevor Lawrence is banged up. I don't care. I'll take them plus 4.
Jets are on the road taking on the Bills at Highmark Stadium. Still don't like the name of that. Highmark Stadium. Buffalo is favored by 10 in this one. It's the over and under is 43.5, and the Bills have played better as of late. But as much as I believe, and we just went through this, that I think the Bills are probably the second best team in the AFC. I don't have that 100% faith in them, and this is it for the Jets. The Jets have got to win this one. Otherwise, they go to 7-6. They are then in a complete dogfight to even make the postseason. They need this one. So I'm going to take the Bills to win, but because of the desperation of the Jets, they will cover. I'll take the Jets getting 10 in Buffalo in Orchard Park, New York this coming weekend.
I like that pick.
Yeah.
Mike White, the franchise.
The faith in Mike White. If the Jets win, I might get a white jersey. Who knows?
You know, this has to do with nothing, but I was having the conversation with some friends last weekend. How many people in the world do you think are named Mike White? It's got to be a lot, right?
A lot, yeah.
We were estimating. I said like 10,000, and that might be a little too high.
Well, just Google Mike White, and you'll see Mike White come up, or Google like White Pages Mike White and see how many Mike Whites come up.
That's a great idea.
There you go.
I have chosen not to do that.
All right, let's do this. I choose to do this. We're going to go ahead and step away. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and wrap up this particular hour, this portion of the program. Brought to you by our friends Sloppy Joe's and Smoke on the Water, a good old-fashioned Wisconsin bar at Sloppy Joe's on Hubertus, in Hubertus. Smoke on the Water, great place. By the way, our Christmas party for Fisher House, Wisconsin is next week for the board of directors out there next Tuesday. But upstairs, a beautiful place. Downstairs, they have that big banquet hall, and they put music down there on the weekends and always have great bands. It's a terrific atmosphere. Stop into either place. You can't go wrong. Smoke on the Water with Joe and Ellen Hennis, Sloppy Joe's, same owners, good people, great place. Stop in, tell them we sent you. More of the Bill Michaels Show to come.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers say they plan to have Romeo Doubs back for their next game. The rookie receiver has been inactive for over a month and was asked if he's looking forward to getting back on the field with Christian Watson.
Yes, I am. But again, we'll see what happens. I feel great being out there. I know Christian feels just the same. Can get us going.
Doubs suffered a high ankle sprain November 6th against Detroit after getting hit by two Lions defenders. He came close to playing against the Bears in Chicago this past Sunday. Packers head coach Matt LaFleur.
We worked him out in pregame. We were hopeful that he was going to be able to play a limited role. That wasn't the case. You know, he's diligent about his rehab and just the process that you got to go through to get back. And I know he's definitely eager to be back out on the field, and yeah, definitely excited to hopefully get him back in the fold next game.
Now the Packers' next game is against the Rams on Monday Night Football, December 19th. The Rams are hosting the Raiders tonight on Thursday Night Football, but they'll be without Aaron Donald, out with an ankle injury. Former Wisconsin Badger David Edwards is being shut down at left guard after a series of concussions. And with Matthew Stafford out with a spinal cord contusion, the Rams signed quarterback Baker Mayfield after he was waived by the Panthers Tuesday. Sean McVay on why they signed Mayfield.
I think it's just, the love of the game, the competitor, all the things that he brings, from the traits and characteristics of a quarterback. He's a natural thrower. Like I said, ability to be able to throw in the pocket and out of the pocket. There's a lot of things, whether it be in Cleveland or even in Carolina, that he's been asked to do that are very similar concept carryover to what we've been able to do and some of the things that we have as foundational parts of our offense. So that makes it a little bit easier. It's kind of all of those things and certainly not exclusive to one of them.
That's Rams head coach Sean McVay. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Good to have you back. The Bill Michaels Show continues on. Our friends at over there at the ICHC, the Irish Cultural Heritage Center, reminding you that they're not done with the holiday season by any stretch of the imagination. Christmas O'Carolyn, featuring Revelry Road, coming on December 18th. Tickets are still available if you're looking for some good, authentic Irish Christmas spirit, some vocals and music and good upcoming concert. This is the place to go. ICHC.net. Irish Cultural Heritage Center. ICHC.net. ICHC.net, or just give our buddy over there a call. And Corey Webster's hanging by the phone. 414-345-8800. 414-345-8800. That is December 18th, Revelry Road, coming for Christmas O'Carolyn at the ICHC, the Irish Cultural Heritage Center. Good stuff there as well. Ben, here's a question for you. If by chance, you know how we see all these different ads this time of year for many different things like, saving animals for only 19 cents a day and feeding kids for 20 cents a day and all that kind of stuff. If Wisconsin put out to get kids in the NIL $10 a month to your credit card, would you do it?
They already do that in a way. There's the Varsity Collective on Twitter has put out there that they package it in a very perfect way of help us better the student athlete experience. Correct. And blah, 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 blah. Really, it's, hey, pay us so we could pay players.
Correct.
And I think it'd be funny if they just said that as the sentence.
That's exactly right. That is what Ohio State now is doing publicly. Just
$10 a month is tough,
$10
though.
a month. $10 a month. That's it.
I produce radio, Bill. I know.
I get it. I might have to put in 20 just for 10 for you, 10 for me. But Ohio State is doing it publicly now. It's on their Facebook page. It was on a couple of other follows that I have. They're doing it public. Bring kids for the Ohio State Buckeye experience for only $10 a month. It's not like we're feeding the world here. We're paying college athletes to come play for your team. They make it sound like it's these starving athletes. Oh, it's such a shame that they can't be an athlete here at Ohio State. So for $10 a month, you too can bring in a future Buckeye. Yeah. And I can just wait for it now. You're going to get that free t-shirt. Eventually. You know, you got St. Jude Hospital. You've got all kinds of different things this time of year. Salvation Army. You know, everybody's asking for money. But right now, if you want to support an athlete for only $10 a month, you can do this.
And they'll still probably get waxed by Michigan. So what does it matter?
Right? Oh, my goodness. I think at this point they should put out the, you know, would you like to beat Michigan? We'd like to beat Michigan. For only $10 a month, we can pay off that Earl Shy beard of Ryan Day to get him the hell out of the coaching ranks here at Ohio State.
Get the buyout life working.
Remove the shoe from Ryan Day for only $10 a month. You know, you wonder how bad that beard is without Earl Shive's. Hey, you tape it off, we'll spray it paint job. God.
That's good. That's good stuff.
My goodness.
That's good stuff. What if they lose to Michigan in the national title? Do you think you would relinquish all Ohio State ties and disown them?
Oh, it would be that. Well, I told you that they're already, I mean, fan base wise, they're already picking out the next head coach who they want. And they're pissed off that some of these coaches, they're really mad. Luke Fickell got gobbled up by Wisconsin. I mean, there was whole message boards created to get Luke Fickell to go back to Ohio State because now he's kind of learned, he's figured it out, and now bring him back, and he can then take the Buckeye Nation to the promised land. There is, after that, I'll tell you this: if they beat Georgia to face Michigan, I think first of all it'll be a miracle. But if they get dump trucked by Georgia, it'll be ugly. And if they beat Georgia and then lose to Michigan again in a national title game, that's the equivalent. That would be the kill yourself equivalent as when the Bears lost at home at Soldier Field to the Green Bay Packers for the Hallis Trophy and the NFC Championship game. That's that equivalent. And oh my God, because then you've got Michigan fans. Doesn't matter what happens the rest of your life. Until Ohio State beats Michigan in a national title game, they will always have that over your head. That would be the Ryan Day, there's no way he can even get back on the plane moment. Oh, yeah. Another hour yet to go. Kevin Holden, CBS 58, going to join us. Coming up next on The Bill Michaels Show.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin has its new offensive coordinator. It was reported yesterday by The Athletic that new coach Luke Fickell was bringing in North Carolina offensive coordinator Phil Longo for the same role on his staff. Longo's been at UNC for the last 4 years, fielded some of the best offenses in school history. They finished in the top 15 in total offense all 4 years, averaged more than 36 points per game. One guy that apparently liked the hire, wide receiver Marcus Allen. He had entered the transfer portal during the season and committed to Minnesota last week, but he decommitted yesterday and then reportedly took his name out of the transfer portal and will return to Wisconsin. Allen was one of a number of Badgers that went into the portal, which now has more than 1,000 names in it from around the country. Wisconsin likely to use it to fill holes, though Fickell says they have to be careful.
I think there's a great culture here, and I always worry about if you add too many people that don't have 3, 4, 5 years to build the relationships here, that you can really kind of mess up some of the cultures and things that have been built. And that's what I think they've done a really good job here. It will be an interesting 3 weeks for me to be able to assess and figure out some of those things along with the help of the guys around me.
Wisconsin going to face Oklahoma State in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl coming up on December 27th.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up, and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Well, the Bucs have won 6 of their last 7 games. That's after a 126-113 win over Sacramento last night. Giannis Antetokounmpo scored 35 points, his 8th straight 30-point game. They're going to be in Dallas tomorrow night. And Wisconsin going to head to Iowa to face the Hawkeyes on Sunday. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Welcome back to the program. Final hour of the show, and we're not done yet. Glad to have you on board today on this Thursday edition of the Bill Michaels Show. Joining us now over on the hotline, our buddy Kevin Holden, CBS 58 in Milwaukee, joining us. Kevin, how you doing, pal?
Bill, it's all good, man. Hope December's treating you well. I like the fact that football season got real dreary in October and November, and now all of a sudden it's right back in the middle with all the changes going on in the state and changes coming in the near future. So I've got a little new energy here for December.
Well, let's start with energy. Packers are off, so they're going to come back ready to go. They get a win over Chicago. They're not mathematically eliminated. Got a little bit of hope. Give me your thoughts, because you and I really haven't talked a whole lot during this season. Give me your thoughts just on the season itself.
I mean, obviously, in terms of expected performance versus performance, it's obviously an extreme disappointment. I mean, it is starting with a defense that was supposed to be, I thought, a carrying point of this team and has been anything but. And I think that's the thing that's got to be addressed, when the season's over. They got to look at Joe Barry. They got to look at Jair Alexander for whatever that's worth. They've got to look at a lot of stuff. And that's the unfortunate part. The new part, excuse me, the fun part of all of this is receiving-wise, they found a couple of guys. I mean, Christian Watson's outburst has been really more necessary than anything. I don't know if Christian Watson would have had the chance to do this on old Packers teams, but now he's had a chance to become really the centerpiece in the receiving core going forward. Romeo Doubs, when he's healthy, should be good. The weird thing about it is we entered the season with a giant question mark at wide receiver, and we're leaving the season with some optimism at receiver and question marks almost everywhere else on the roster. What an odd year.
So, I mean, I know Christian Watson has really come on. Obviously, Sammy Watkins really hasn't panned out. We know that Randall Cobb was healthy, playing well, and then he went down with the injury, just like he does now. That guy, hard, great. But do you think this offense figured out because they're scoring more points here down the stretch?
Yeah, I really do think there's been a long game that's been played here on the part of Aaron Rodgers, and it wasn't wrong in theory. In other words, okay, so the Packers knew they needed more than just a ground game. I think if they were going to be competitors in the NFC, they were going to need these things. And so early on, it meant forcing opportunities to guys like Watson and Romeo Doubs, because at some point they were going to have to improve faster than rookies would normally have to improve. Usually you got a couple years. So they didn't have a couple years. If they're going to compete, they had to get to there right now. And it paid off with Watson, because when that switch went to on, when he got healthy and started catching touchdowns, he's a sight to see. But it's the interesting thing about it is obviously as far as being competitive for the playoffs, that's something that's just not going to happen. I mean, they're either going to get eliminated in the next week or two, or it's coming very soon. But optimism for the future is a really good thing. And I think now that they've got Watson, in a very good place and they've got a good ground game, they're kind of a dangerous team in these last several weeks. Like if I was the Rams or even the Vikings, if they're playing for a 1 or 2 seed, I don't know if I want to play a team like the Packers in the season's final month. I could see them at least offensively putting it together.
Are you in the camp of you got to see Jordan Love?
I was in that camp before the Bears game. In other words, not to say that I'm jumping the gun, but if you really want to see it, if you really want to know what Jordan Love can bring for you in the years to come, you needed to see him in a high-pressure game, and perhaps a game where fans are screaming and yelling at him in the middle of the pressure and all that stuff. I mean, it's one thing to see Jordan Love in week 17 or 18, which could mean nothing. And, I mean, honestly, it's increasingly likely that those weeks don't mean a thing. But it would have been another thing to see him in Chicago. I think that would have told you a lot about where he was in his development and all that stuff going forward. So I'm still in that camp. It just – I think that was the golden opportunity to see him. Monday Night Football will be fun. That road game at Miami will be a nice test. But honestly, having not done it now, I think your sample size, unless you make that change right now, that sample size is small. And now I'm getting increasingly the sense, the idea that that change isn't going to happen in the next week or two. So I don't know. I was, and now I'm not, because I think they may have missed a window here.
The Aaron Rodgers and his, well, it's got to be a mutual decision for him to come back, and then Goody saying, yeah, we want him back, and we're going to talk about it, and this and that. I mean, I know that here we go again with another quarterback that's going to waffle, that's going to go back and forth. I get the sense, though, that it's maybe going to be a couple of weeks. Rodgers coming back. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I think 95% of me says he's back next year. Give me your thoughts on what's upcoming next year, and more so what's coming this offseason.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Rodgers, for the off seasons of drama that we've dealt with, and not just Rodgers, obviously, but going back before that, I think Rodgers would like to have himself free of all of that earlier if he can. I don't think there are any overarching statements about the future of the franchise or whatever. I think, if Rodgers is going to play, he's going to make the decision to play. If he's not, he'll make that decision too. So it should get into place earlier. That's going to help a lot because the Packers have a lot of other things to focus on in the off season. And I mean, maybe the most that they've had. I mean, I've been here 13 years, and the only other offseason I can remember like this one that's coming up is the one where they hired Matt LaFleur, because you had to change direction. You had to have a guy that fit what you wanted, and then you had to build staff around him. I mean, it's going to be that level from player changes to, coaching changes, coordinator changes. I mean, I think it's going to look way different by next year. It almost has to, because you can't really take what's happened this year and validate it for another year. I mean, you got to change a lot of stuff, because the Packers are still a prideful organization with a lot of talent. And I mean, you can't let 2022 be the norms. Probably the best way to say it.
I want to switch over. We're talking with Kevin Holden of CBS 58, joining us out of Milwaukee. So that's some Packers shout. I do want to talk a little bit Brewers baseball, because the Brewers, obviously, with David Stearns stepping down, Matt Arnold taking over, the Colton Wong trade, the Hunter Renfroe trade. Give me your thoughts on the direction of this team right now and where they're at.
It is. But part of being a Brewers fan in recent years is it's become increasingly difficult to get to this time of year and to watch things go on with other teams. Not that Aaron Judge was coming to Milwaukee or Xander Bogaerts or anything like that, but it's, this has been the time in previous regimes before the last several years where there would be some sort of seismic shift. And I mean, it's increasingly the case that that's not what they do. And the Brewers have developed this sort of identity. And, the more I thought about this off season, the more I think the Brewers are basically modeled after the Tampa Bay Rays. That this is what they want to do. And the Rays play, in a ballpark, in a situation in Tampa where they don't really draw fans, where the payroll is at the bottom. So they've learned to figure out how to find players and value players in a different way, but still to return some value from it. So the good news about that is, if their system of valuation is good, you'll have a consistently decent team. I'm not talking about necessarily a competitor, but at least a good team year to year. The downside of it is, if they're valuing guys different than everybody else, then it means the people that we know have value aren't the people they're getting. And it makes for depressing off seasons a little bit. I mean, not that what's happening is bad, but that, sometimes the fan base gets energized with a good free agent signing, and it just hasn't been the case the last few years.
I was going to ask you about that. So what does this team need to energize its fan base, to energize this team? I mean, I know they're relying on some young guys to come up and get the job done. But if I'm a Brewers fan and I'm sitting here going, what the hell happened the last season that had so much promise, and now what are they doing to make it better? Or are we in somewhat of a small financial downturn reboot right now, just hanging on to your own, making a few deals, trying to get a few bats? The Jesse Winker thing, I'm not a fan of, after reading what I heard about him, and, kind of being a non-clubhouse guy, so to speak. And, some of the things I heard about him even coming out of Cincinnati, not a big fan of this move.
Yeah, it's not consistent either with what the Brewers have done. One of the things that they've done in this era, starting with 2017, 2018, when they started to be playoff competitors every year, was they had the really good clubhouse. The 2018's clubhouse with Curtis Granderson, with all those young guys, the young pitchers. I mean, it was a good clubhouse. You could tell the chemistry was good and the guys were good. So yeah, if anything that messes with that idea is going to be a little bit of an issue. In terms of energizing the fan base, the number one thing that they could do is to get a press conference together and sign Corbin Burnes to some gigantic deal and put the fan base fears to rest about talented players leaving, because you're starting to hear from the team itself. You heard from Craig Counsell during the winter meetings about the Hader trade and the reaction to it. I mean, Craig Counsell said it. We got that one wrong. He said, you got to put your hand up and say it and admit it. You got that one wrong. They thought that the idea of getting value back from Hader when they did was the right call, but they didn't take completely into account his effect on the clubhouse. And I think there's where the crisis, maybe crisis is a strong word, but there's where the situation is going forward. How do they handle that with Corbin Burnes, who appears to me to be a good clubhouse guy? Brandon Woodruff was very clearly a good clubhouse guy. Like, these are, you got to figure out how to handle that. It's a tough situation because they're going to demand ridiculous amounts of money. They're good pitchers, and that's where you got to go from here. But yeah, to energize the base, I think you got to, not only say that Hader was a mistake, but maybe do your best to avoid doing it again.
What does this team need? I mean, obviously you want to keep your pitching, especially at this point in time. And you obviously need to bolster your bullpen, but to go back to being a legit contender in the Central, what else does this team need?
It needs the number one thing I think they need is a center of the order masher kind of bat. And the trouble, and one of the reasons why this has gotten upside down for the Brewers, is they had one. He's on the roster still. He's just not that guy anymore.
Right.
Christian Yelich, not 2018, 2019, material. He's being paid that way because that's how it works with the contracts, but you're not getting that level of performance. So there's two ways to do it. You could find 2019 for Yelich, and man, if you figure that out and bottle it, give me a case of it shipped to my house, because I want a whole lot of 2019 in my life. But the other option is to go get that bat again, to find it either at first base, right field, possibly DH. And Winker is strictly from a bat standpoint a good addition, but he's not that addition. So that's where this team could go over the top. If you could combine really good, strong starting pitching top to bottom with an offense that would be average and have a masher in the middle of the order, it changes everything. And that's, it's not easy to go do, especially in a small market, but that's the whole. I mean, it's either Yelich or a new Yelich,
Mm-hmm. Right. No, I completely agree. I still think you got to bolster the bullpen. You still need, like you mentioned, a couple of bats. Obviously, center field is going to be turned over to the rookie, right?
Yeah, Garrett Mitchell. And I was surprised. One of the things that surprised me about getting Winker on board was I thought that the Brewers would take 2 or 3 spots there in their outfield/DH combination and turn that over to young guys. I mean, I think Garrett Mitchell is just the beginning. If you've got a small market team with talent in the minor league system, I think they're going to want to give those guys a shot. Bryce Terang in the infield, I think, is about to get a shot. And that's it's exciting because those are players that are homegrown that can be around for a while. They, in baseball system, you can, they'll be here long enough to grow attached to them, which is kind of cool. And it's a plus for a couple of years down the road, but it's not often that someone comes in and becomes a masher, like a middle of the order guy right away as a rookie. It's pretty rare. So I think they're going to end up with a lot of youth, and maybe a lot of youth that plays a lot. And you're going to ride some ups and downs with that for maybe the first year or two, but it will be fun. I like Garrett Mitchell. I think Garrett Mitchell at his peak for me could be a leadoff hitter. Honestly, he's got speed. He's aggressive. He's the guy that they could have used a couple years ago.
Real quick, Wilson Contreras goes to the Cardinals. The Cardinals are still most likely the favorite in the division. The Cubs haven't done a lot. Cincinnati's not, I think, any closer, and Pittsburgh's still in the basement. Give me your thoughts of how the division shakes out as of right now.
It's funny. It's become the broken record of the Cardinals are always tough, and they'll always find a way to produce the talent and sign what they need. And they become the most dangerous team. But it's interesting how the rest of that division has just kind of slid off the table. I mean, Cincinnati dismantled for a good chunk of last year. Pittsburgh, like you said, is just lost in this wasteland. So, and I mean, the Cubs are bringing guys on board, but Cody Bellinger of 2022, it's like Yelich. He ain't the same guy that he was 3 or 4 years ago. So, I mean, with all of that in mind, the Brewers are, even with all the problems that have happened, the Brewers start, in my mind, as a second-place team. They just have to do something to catch the Cardinals, whether it's catching lightning in the bottle with young guys, bringing someone else on board. I mean, that's a pretty good position to be in to start the year, sort of thought of in the division as the second-place team. It's a hell of a lot better than Pittsburgh, I'll tell you that.
Right. Yeah, no doubt about it. Kevin, good stuff as always, and I appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon, okay?
Bill, much appreciated. Let's keep the energy flowing. I kind of like December so far.
Yep, so far it's good. Just hang on to it, man. Good stuff. Thanks, Kevin. Talk to you soon. There you go. Kevin Holden, CBS 58, joining us for a couple of minutes on the hotline, and glad to have him on board and talk a little Brewers baseball, a little Packers football. Always good to talk some hot stove stuff. And Kevin loves baseball anyway, so it's a natural to have him on and talk a little bit about it. This portion of the program brought to you by our good friends over there at Sunset Grill. It's in Pewaukee. And they have karaoke, they have bingo, they have a lot of stuff during the week. Really good food, obviously. But if you're going to go there and check out some of the games, they have music in there on the weekends. Still some great sunsets going out over Pewaukee Lake. You can still look out the back door and out the back windows and see it. The deck, on warmer days, it's open. Maybe they put the heaters outside, but for the most part, that's closed. The food is still fantastic. The special drinks they have during the holiday season are awesome. Check out Sunset Grill on Pewaukee Lake. You won't go wrong.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down and for up to 24 months. Now, but pay for it 2 years later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hell no, pay later.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Quick Trip brings you quick hot savings. We're making a splash this month with our Nature's Touch milk. Just $2.99 a gallon. All our 1 gallon, 2%, 1%, and skim Nature's Touch milk is on sale and ready to hit your fridge. Oh, how can you beat fresh, straight from our dairy milk that's ready for movie night milkshakes or to make those morning waffles extra fluffy? Hey, we got you covered with quick hot savings only at Quick Trip.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you. More and more now that this story has been out there since earlier this morning. The story regarding the Washington Commanders, Daniel Snyder. He permitted and participated in the team's longtime toxic work culture, obstructed a 14-month congressional inquiry by dodging subpoenas, working to dissuade and intimidate witnesses from cooperating. It continues to come out. Excuse me. But the NFL looks horrible in this. And I've been sitting here during breaks reading a lot of this. There was admittedly in a private communication that more than a year ago that Daniel Snyder had a shadow investigation and the abuse of federal courts violated the NFL policy, according to this report and to the NFL. Of their own doing. So basically, evidence found by the committee was consistent, the report says, with media reports that Snyder used the Wilkinson investigation early on as, quote, a tip sheet to form an enemies list that was then provided to his lawyers to advance his own shadow investigation. Snyder used a secret communication and common interest agreement with the NFL to prevent the league from turning over more than 40,000 documents from the Wilkinson investigation, which was filed with the committee. The report faulted the NFL for being aware of Snyder's serious interference with the investigation, and they didn't stop it. This is about as damning indictment as we've had in a long time regarding the NFL. The committee's 79-page report, which was released today, it comes down hard on the NFL, and it comes down really hard on Roger Goodell, concluding that the league was complicit in Snyder's efforts by not cooperating with a congressional inquiry, burying a 2020-2021 investigation of the Commanders' workplace led by the attorney Beth Wilkinson. Quote, we saw efforts that we have never seen before. At least I haven't, according to Carolyn Maloney out of New York, who chaired the committee. The NFL knew about it. They took zero responsibility. NFL officials were acting like they were doing something. Then they turned around and fixed it, so nobody can talk about it. The report is never going to be made public. Yet she was supposed to be hired to address the report, according to Maloney telling ESPN, Carolyn Maloney out of New York. The hypocrisy, the coordinated effort to hide what they acknowledged. The NFL saw all these problems and then turned around and hid it. The report cites allegations of harassment and abuse against several other teams. Says the NFL has put the interests of the league owners ahead of the employees and has failed to protect them or ensure that the victims can speak up without fear of retaliation. The NFL chose to bury Ms. Wilkinson's findings and whitewash the misconduct it uncovered. And rather than seek real accountability, the NFL aligned its legal interests with Snyder's, failing to curtail the abusive tactics, buried the investigation findings. the shadow investigation that Snyder had in conjunction with Wilkinson, and then basically finding, and we talked about this, the private investigators setting them out on a mission to find other bad wrongdoings by everybody from Roger Goodell to other team owners to blackmail them into agreeing with him or hiding evidence. This is kind of, I mean, it's out there, and there's a lot of substance to this. Now, I know it's becoming very political on Capitol Hill. The Republicans want to bury it, and the Democrats want to bring it to the forefront. I get all that. I don't care about that. But what has been brought to the forefront is emails of nude women, nearly nude women. John Gruden's emails have now gotten out. All the things that got him fired. During the deposition, Snyder was telling investigators, I've said numerous times, I continue to state we apologize for the workplace misconduct, but then did nothing to curtail it. Snyder admitted using private investigators. He has admitted under oath doing that. He kept saying he did not remember many things. So every time it came to a question that was going to make him look bad, he said, I don't recall. In his testimony, he recounted his encounter with private investigator that followed him. He also wrote that Snyder once talked with him about hiring other private eyes, numerous private eyes, to follow Commissioner Roger Goodell to get the dirt on him so he could never force him to sell his franchise. This is just amazing. And you got to go. There's too much here for me to get into and to give you the full, play-by-play of this. But the committee basically found that Snyder is a sleaze. He would do anything to hang on to his power and hang on to his franchise and to shut everybody up, including the commissioner. Apparently, whatever he found on the commissioner worked, because the NFL worked in conjunction with Snyder for a long time trying to bury a lot of this. And as it came out, as more and more people spoke up and more people said, no, this is not the way it is, and more people gave emails and private findings and such behind the scenes, and the investigators were found and subpoenaed to Capitol Hill, everybody started to dig. Nobody wanted to go to jail. Everybody's digging the dirt now, dishing the dirt now. So both the NFL and Daniel Snyder look terrible. What's next? The committee staffers recommended that Congress should require the NFL and its clubs to all demonstrate compliance with state and federal employment laws as a condition to the continued benefit of the federal antitrust exemption, as well as tax-exempt bonds used to finance the construction or renovation of sports stadiums. So in other words, we're going to force you to do what we want you to do now. And if you don't, antitrust out the window, and all this support that you're getting for public funding, you're done. I mean, that's about as damning a statement for the NFL financially as the government could possibly give. Now, whether or not they can actually follow through on it and get enough people in conjunction behind it, we'll wait and see. But several congressional measures have come out of the commander's investigation. The committee members have said that they want no tax subsidies for stadiums, and they're putting an act together that would eliminate tax breaks used by professional sports teams. They want that done. The future of the legislation uncertain, but that's one of the things that come out of it. This has become tremendously important issue in America, Maloney says. The NFL is one of our most respected corporations and employs a lot of people. Many people look up to the role models. They should be setting a standard and a better example in treating the women and men with respect. And that's the way the story kind of ends. But basically, they found that everybody involved in this thing is a scumbag. The people that were the victims tried to speak up, and they were completely retaliated against. And the major players involved were dishing dirt on one another and getting dirt on one another, so nobody would tell anybody anything. And it's all just dirty dealings and disgust behind the scenes. And basically, they said, we've had enough. If you don't comply, if you don't bring everything up to standard, if you don't treat your employees the way they're supposed to be treated federally, then we are going to relieve you of your tax exempt and antitrust, and we're going to take away your stadium subsidies, and we're done. I hope they do it. I hope they do it. I hope they follow through. I hope this isn't the end. I hope it's just the beginning. We'll wait and see. 877-867-1670. If you want to find, it's over on ESPN. It's in the Washington Post. I mean, all of the paperwork is in the Washington Post. You can read every damn document if you want to do so. But yeah, it's really damning. It's really damning. And it also says that in an attempt to throw everybody off of the track of what was going on, that's the reason they leaked the John Gruden emails, but it completely backfired on them. Because instead of going after Gruden and looking into that investigation, it then showed a spotlight on the, quote, investigation to begin with, because everybody said the same thing like we did. Out of all of this, out of all the emails, the 650,000 emails, the only thing you found was dirt on John Gruden, who's not even with the organization. That's what ultimately shed the spotlight on the investigation and caused everybody to go, wait a minute, there's some crap below the surface that we just don't see. And sure enough, it's really, it's just a depth of muck like we don't ever want to believe. 877-867-1670. Hit us up, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free to do so. But it's all money. Ugly money. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Wisconsin isn't snobby, snooty, or pretentious. It's Midwestern charm at its finest. And that's exactly what Forgotten Fire Winery in Peshtigo is all about. Fun in a bottle without the attitude. You can find and cider throughout the state. The winery is a great place to get away for wine and great live music and private events all year long. Remember, any time is a great time for Forgotten Fire wines and ciders. Wisconsin wine made from Wisconsin people.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Purchase a new home and you want approval and you want a lender and you want somebody that's going to work with you, my guy, the guy that got me done, is Scott Ellis with Homeside Financial, and I used him for my mortgage. He did an outstanding job. Just I can't say enough about it. And he helped people increase their credit scores as well. And he's always available. The best part about it is just whenever I wanted to get a hold of him, I always could. And went through the process, held my hand through the process kind of because I'm not great with that kind of stuff. But really did so much, 25 plus years of experience helping homeowners achieve their dreams. And whether it's a refi or you want to buy now, because some people are looking at the prices of homes as they go down and say, you know what, I'll take it now. I'll pay the higher interest rate because later on I'm going to lower my interest rate anyway, but I can get the housing market for a better price. So get a hold of him. Go to ScottEllisTeam.com. That's Scott, S-C-O-T-T, Ellis, E-L-L-I-S, ScottEllisTeam.com, or call him 414-791-7771, 414-791-7771, 414-791-7771. And they do a world of good. They really, really do. That's my buddy Scott Ellis from Homeside Financial. Really good people. He's located here in Wisconsin too, by the way. This is from our buddy Steve, who says, good day, Bill. I was hopeful that Matt Arnold would pull off a trade at the winter meetings. But since that didn't occur, I'm now hopeful that he did lay the groundwork to make something happen soon. I would still like to see one of the Toronto catchers end up here in Milwaukee. We were talking about that a little bit earlier today when we had Kevin Holden on. Will they still, at some point, go after a catcher? He also says, I was hoping that they would get Reynolds at the trade deadline, and now he has requested a trade. I'm even more hopeful that could possibly happen. Congrats to former Brewer Pat Hughes on being awarded the Ford C. Frick Award for the Baseball Hall of Fame. Pat's been overdue for a long time. I saw that happen. Was it yesterday or the day before? But I saw that Pat Hughes is going to get the Ford C. Frick Award for Hall of Fame broadcasters. I mean, so many have won it. Obviously, Euchre won it not that long ago. My friend Marty Brenneman of the Reds won it not that long ago. I mean, that's a tremendous honor to be going into baseball's Hall of Fame in the broadcasting wing with all of the tremendous voices of Major League Baseball that have been around for a long, long time. So congratulations to Pat Hughes. 100%. Absolutely. He's been more than deserving for a long time to get into baseball's Hall of Fame. 877-867-1670. Hit us up, 877-867-1670. A note from Adam McCalvey during the winter meetings in which other teams doled out more than $1.5 billion with a B to free agents over 4 days. Matt Arnold, Craig Counsell spoke about the challenge of trying to reach the same goal in an entirely different way, saying, quote, in our market, we've realized this is how we're going to have to operate. I don't always find it frustrating. I think it's the world we're in. I'm good with it. We're good with it. What it means is that our offseason doesn't look like this to other teams and like their off seasons, but that's okay. But I think we've shown, and everybody in our organization has shown, we can still find a way to put a really good team on the field. $1.5 billion. If you're a team like Milwaukee, if you're a team like Kansas City, if you're a team like Cincinnati or Pittsburgh, just sticking in the, our own realm, if you're a team in that standing, you have got to be unbelievably discouraged at the spending that's going on. Look at a team like Oakland. They got a crappy stadium. They don't make money. They have no way. I mean, it's a big market, but they don't have a way to survive out there. The Giants rule, I don't really pity the Marlins because they've just done anything and everything they can to screw that organization up. And they're actually in a really big city in Miami, but they just choose to be completely irrelevant. But you look at some of these other ones, like I mentioned, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Milwaukee specifically. Come on. At some point, if you're, management, you got to push for something, right? Some kind of something limiting the crazy contracts that are going on. And if you're Major League Baseball and the Players Association, I know you don't want to deter the big giant contracts because that just, high tide raises all ships, but you have to at some point understand what's going on with the competitive balance of baseball and the affordability. It's sitting here as a Brewers fan today or any other small market fan, you're depressed. $1.5 billion were spent. You didn't have a shot. You don't have a shot at any of that. That's just crazy. And as a baseball fan, it's demoralizing. And it's just another reason that baseball fans, unless of course you're in New York or in LA, it's just another reason they turn away and go, why? Why get excited about it? What good is there here? And I can't argue that. They're right. Can't argue that. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up if you choose to do so. Would love to hear from you. Got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. Another segment left coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
This December, it's a cash avalanche at Potawatomi. Saturdays, you could get buried in up to 10 grand cash. Plus, all the unclaimed prizes snowball into a huge cash jackpot at the end of the month. Just play with your club card for a chance to win. Sure, presents are nice, but nothing beats cold, hard cash. Only at Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. More info at paysbig.com/cold cash. Must be 21 years old to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers have 4 remaining games on the schedule. Matt LaFleur says the defense needs to reduce the number of missed tackles. How can they improve? Safety Adrian Amos.
Go at it every day. I don't think we're a bad tackling team. I think we had a bad performance where you get in a lot of situations where you end up in the open field. And any team that has to make a lot of open field tackles are not going to be seen as a great, tackling team. So you got to get more heads to the ball. We got to be on our assignments.
Although the Packers won 28-19 on Sunday against the Bears, Green Bay's defense gave up 409 yards of total offense with 155 yards on the ground. Packers nose tackle Kenny Clark.
At this point, right now, I'm just trying to, put together a great game and, help our defense, put together a great game. Seeing like all year, just everything just really been a roller coaster. So, at this point, we just trying to just win a football game and play good football at the end of the day.
Despite being 5-8, the Packers still have a slim chance of making the playoffs.
We still in the thick of it. I mean, and we got to just keep playing ball, keep chopping wood and just get back to work.
That's Packers nose tackle Kenny Clark. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Back. Bill Michaels Show continues on. Here's something for you, Ben. This is a quirky thing. I got an email from Mark who said, I was looking at my local weather app. Have you ever noticed they're all the same? I went off on this the other day. Like, I'm in my car. Yeah, have you ever had that moment of this thought stream that begins to fall out of your own head till you realize you're yelling at yourself? Have you ever done that? Like, just
yes.
Okay.
Every day. That's my life.
I was driving the other day, and I have some of the local weather apps. And it's always if you want the best, most accurate. Did you ever notice they all use the same thing?
I don't know local weather apps. I do have a weather app that really is focused on wind and wind strength and wind direction.
Okay.
But that's neither here nor there. But it's more of an all-encompassing.
Okay.
It's no local.
Well, I use weather apps a lot. I'm kind of a weather freak. Okay, so 2 things. One is I'm always looking because I'm doing stuff, so I always want to know what it's going to be like when I'm out traveling. But more so in the summertime when you're on a motorcycle, you're always looking for the weather. You want to know what the weather is going to be. And I never really noticed this. I always had used one from a local news network here. And then I downloaded another one. They said it was the most accurate and this and that. And really, they're all the same. And the difference is that not only are they all the same, that the only thing they want you to do is go to the weather app and observe their podcast or their forecast locally. So like a couple of them actually put their local forecasters on them, and they say, if you're watching this video, this is what you're seeing, which, if you've ever noticed, is different from the actual weather app. I was just watching one of them today that said, hey, this weekend it's going to be 41 degrees, blah, blah, blah. We're going to have some mushy snow. You go out to Dodge County, it's going to be more of a winter weather advisory. The further out you get, the worse the snow could be. But, like where I live, it's 1 to 2 inches of like this mashed potatoes slush mush that's supposed to start coming down later tonight into tomorrow. And the further south you go to Kenosha down towards Chicago, because I got friends coming into town. And they're talking about the drive up. And I said, I don't really think you're going to get hit with anything. And maybe till you get to Racine County. And then it's going to be just some flurries and mush. And that's it. But the weather app that they use is the same one that I have. It's I said, pull up the weather app. So he pulled it up from Milwaukee and starts reading it to me. It's the exact same thing I have. So his weather app by the television station down there says the exact same thing as what I have up here. So I'm only getting on this because somebody brought it up and they said it's the most misleading thing there is for all the most accurate, most, up to date, blah, blah, blah. It's crap. Just download a weather app you like and call it a day. That's about the extent of it. The only difference is the personalities delivering the video blogs that tell you what the weather is. So whoever you trust the most in your market, that's who you go with. But
which is important. I will note.
I agree. I don't know why it bothers me so much. It pisses me off to no end.
Can you just look outside?
Yeah, right.
I
was on this stream the other day of I can drop my pants, stick my ass out the window, and I can tell you what the temperature is. And depending on which way the breaking of wind goes, I can tell you the direction of the wind. And if it blows towards me, it's coming from the east. And depending on how fast the smell gets out of the way, I can tell you what the wind speed is. Other than that, I'm good to go. It's all the same. So I was like in rare form, and it was something where I thought to myself, boy, if I was recording this would be great. The problem is it's laden with F-bombs, and I could never post it without basically having the company boot me off the air. Not that I was posting it on, the website or anything, but so a guy brought it up, and I just thought I'd give my 2 cents on that. So there you go.
I will say wind is only really valuable. Like I bet on golf. I gamble on golf. So I like to go and see the forecast for specific cities to know on Saturday what the early morning wave will look like. So I know who to gamble on.
Right.
Because some golfers can't play in the elements and are soft.
Yeah. Nope. I get your golf. I get your golf passion. I'll call it a passion.
Yeah, like aside from that, it's just like, I'll go outside.
Okay.
I'll see the weather.
Just stick your head in the air and call it a day. I always want to know if something's coming that I need to be aware of, but for the most part, it's like, who cares? Just give it to me right. So as Rick says, they all get it from NOAA, NOAA, the National Oceanic, whatever the hell it is after that. You're right. They all do. But I find it funny that my buddy who lives in Ohio, who I'm talking to, I said, what does your weather app say? I said, pull it up. And I said, okay, go to the daily. And he said, well, it's 38 and mush. I said, okay, let me get mine. 38 mush. I said, read it to me. He's in Cincinnati. It's the exact same verbiage. It's the exact same words. The exact same. From supposedly two different entities, but it's exactly the same. The most up-to-date and accurate as we see it from somebody else. There you go. What do we got coming up tomorrow on a Friday to kind of round out this Packerless weekend?
Well, we'll see what other controversy comes out of the Wisconsin football program. And if anything, grad assistants are still tweeting that players aren't wanted.
I know. I like it.
Actually, all the tweets were deleted. There's a big fight of who could delete more tweets calling out the other. So I'll be monitoring that situation. I don't know. preview the bye week. I feel like our eyes are going to bleed tonight. Watching the Rams.
We got Mike. We got Mike coming on tomorrow. We'll watch the Rams Raiders game. We'll talk a little bit about that. Maybe something will happen in the world of baseball here in our own backyard. Who knows? Maybe something will happen in Packerland. Hey, is Goody's not speaking again today, right?
No,
I didn't think so.
Question mark.
Okay, just checking.
I don't think so. And if he did, then I'm terrible at my job.
Right. No, I'm somebody had said it over on the live stream, and I'm like, I didn't see any of that. And usually we get that sent right to us, and no, nothing there. So other than that, we're good to go. By the way, the current top 20 to win the MVP, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and then Jalen Hurts, all right there. Just new odds coming out from betonline.ag. That's betonline.ag. And early on, 2023 Major League Baseball World Series winner odds. Astros back at the top, followed by the Dodgers, the Mets, the Braves, and the Yankees. I don't even see the Brewers are 18th, by the way. 33-1 odds to win a World Series. There you have it. That'll do it. Good stuff today. Really good stuff. We certainly appreciate you taking a listen to us. Thanks for watching over on the Bud Light live stream. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. If I get the house done later today, maybe I'll do a little bit of a Reels walkthrough or something. Who knows? We'll see what happens before it's all said and done.